Thomas Paine, Thomas Paine, Thomas Paine, Sam Adams, Sam Adams, Sam Adams, Benjamin Franklin, Benjamin Franklin, Benjamin Franklin. These men spoke up for what they thought was right. From their courage came such documents as the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution of the United States. From their willingness to speak what was sometimes unpopular but right, we enjoy such liberties as freedom of speech, the right to keep and bear arms, and freedom of religion. There are those who still wish to oppress our freedoms, and there are still patriots willing to stand up and defend life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Men like Zeb Bell, who honor our founding fathers and what they stood for. It's now time for Zeb at the ranch, speaking up and defending your freedoms. Brought to you by Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers and all of the other great advertisers on the program. And now, Zeb Bell.
This is a brief note to all the paranoid people who check behind shower curtains for axe murderers every evening. If you find one, what's your plan? Good morning, everybody. Here comes Kate Smith and God Bless America, followed by a patriot with our Pledge of Allegiance. Good morning. Let's rock and roll. Over at the station, we're calling for Kate Smith and God Bless America. Let's get it on. Let's go.
It's Alan Butler, sir.
No, sir. You play Kate Smith right now, and that's our opening line. You play that first and foremost right this moment, please. Kate Smith and God Bless America.
Yeah.
Al, we'll go ahead and put you on. I apologize for this little bit of unrest here this morning. Al, go ahead, please. Would you say the Pledge of Allegiance? I'd certainly appreciate it.
Yes, sir. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Al. And now, Kate Smith and God Bless America. Let's go, Damon. Turn it on.
Hold on. Give me 30 seconds.
Oh, boy. All right, well, I'll tell you what we'll do. We'll forego it. It started off bad. We'll just eliminate that, Kate Smith, and we'll just say good morning. And calm down, and we'll say good morning to the Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers, all 7 locations serving you, and along with your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers, also Western Waste Services, always at your disposal. Call them at 734-6969, locally owned and operated. And right now, Valley Wyatt Home and Ranch, also at 910 South Oneida in Rupert. Everything for the farm, the home, and the ranch. All right, let's get to our weather forecast. And ladies and gentlemen, we want to acknowledge that Cheney Flooring and Home Design at 1228 Oakley Avenue in Burley, 678-6945, the number to call. And look for the blue door. All your carpeting, all your flooring, kitchen construction, everything. Open Monday through Friday, 9 to 6, Saturdays 10 to 4. And don't forget, they've got another great big event coming up for the women, and that's going to be coming up, I believe, on, let me check my dates here real quick to make sure. They've got another girls' night out coming up on April 3rd, so check it out at Cheney Flooring and Home Design, 1228 Oakley Avenue in Burley. And right now, here is Michael Rogers' weather.
Start of a brand spanking new week of you, me, Zeb Bell at the ranch, and weather. Good morning, everyone. Got clouds today. Got a slight chance of rain for tomorrow. It'll taper off tomorrow night. You got sunny conditions, and you're going to see temperatures in the 70s. Oh, by the time you get to Friday, 66 for the high today, 43 for the overnight low. Rain, a slight chance, I think it right now, as we are about a week away from spring. Spring, really, in the Magic Valley? Traditionally, the weather in the Magic Valley always takes place a week early, so let's see what's going to happen. Otherwise, enjoy the day, enjoy the weather. It's the only weather you got.
Thank you very much, Michael. And, of course, brought to you by Cheney Flooring and Home Design, 1228 Oakley Avenue in Burley. Look for the blue door. Right now, we welcome your phone calls, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. And I'm going to talk a little bit about bracketology. This is the big week for college basketball, the NCAA March Madness, and we'll talk about that in just a few minutes. Don't forget Daryl's Cleaners at 1223 Albion Avenue in Burley, and Kevin and Cindy, the whole crew over there, making sure that all your rumply crumplies come back looking brand spanking new. They are the best cleaners in the universe. And by the way, they've got those gift cards too. So be sure and check that out. And give someone you love and care for a gift card to go to Daryl's Cleaners, 1223 Albion Avenue in Burley, serving you. And by the way, we also are very appreciative of SafeLink Internet. What a job they do with the best of wireless internet. As a matter of fact, their slogan, Idaho's #1 choice for wireless internet, 17 years and counting as the best. First month is free, plus free installation. They're ready to serve you. No contracts, no credit checks, unlimited data at SafeLink Internet. Number to call, tell them I sent you, 677-8000. That number again, 677-8000. All right, give us a call, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. I'd like to hear what you have to say. Bracketology, how many of you folks have picked your... I started with the Sweet 16. And pick through the schools that I think are going to make it into the Sweet 16 and in men's Division I basketball. But there is something that does bother me, and of course I think everybody in the state of Idaho should be a little bit concerned about it. Boise State got kind of homered, and literally, they are going to play in the NCAA tournament, and they drew Dayton. And guess what? For Dayton, it's a home game. This is the first time I remember this at the tournaments in a long, long time. And the Flyers, the Dayton Flyers, went 16-0 at home this season, and they won their last 21 games at that arena. And they got paired up in the first round with Boise State, and it just doesn't seem fair to me that Dayton has a home game with all their fans literally going to fill up that stadium against Boise State University. But I'll go into some of my picks on that in just a minute, and you can keep record of those and see how close we come. Caller, I'll be right with you. Don't go away. Don't forget Ramsey Heating and Electric at 2600 Overland Avenue in Burley. Number to call, 678-0459. They're open in the morning, 7:30 to 5 in the afternoon, Monday through Friday. And they've got all the lights. They've got all your fluorescent lights. They've got all the light bulbs. They've got them in every wattage, and they're there ready to serve you. So please go to the light, and that's, of course, at Ramsey Heating and Electric, 2600 Overland Avenue in Burley, where they always provide warm winters and cool summers at Ramsey Heating and Electric. Good morning, caller. You're on the air.
Good morning, Zeb. I want you to calm down a bit because I'm not going to talk very long.
I'm not uncalm, Jerry.
I went on the internet this morning and I checked the crude oil prices, and they're down to $44.11. And for some reason, our gas prices are going up at the pump.
Yeah, imagine that.
Which I find just completely corrupt.
It's...
You know, I feel like every time I go fill my gas up in my car, I'm washing my hands in dirty dishwater. You know, dishwater just plumb full of garbage. It just upsets me to go in and see them rip us off.
You know, Jerry, and that's... Just a minute. Jerry, that's exactly what I feel. It's criminal, the way we're being treated at the gas pumps. There's no way in the world, at crude oil prices at $44 a barrel, that we should be paying just a little bit more at the most than $1 a gallon. We are being absolutely ripped off.
Well, I just thought I'd start the show that way today. I know the other day I upset you real bad.
No, you didn't.
Probably made you mad at me for the rest of my life.
No, I'm sure it's terrible.
I just tried to calm you down ahead of the show today.
Well, I've got...
Get out of your way. You have a wonderful day, and may the Lord bless.
All right, Jerry, thank you so much for your call. No, it's absolutely, I think criminal is a better word. The way we're being treated at the gas pumps with the surge and spike, like the paper said this morning, the spike in oil and gas. No, it wasn't a spike in oil prices. It was a spike in greed. It was a spike in trying to take more money out of the consumer's pocket. It was a spike in more taxes. It's a spike to take everything away from the consumer and ground him or her closer to home so they can't go anywhere and enjoy life. I am fed up with the way that we're being gouged on gasoline and diesel prices. Diesel prices are absurd. Calls are welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Valley-wide Home and Ranch, 910 South Oneida and Rupert. Don't forget, Sean, Mandy, the whole crew. The chicks are coming to town. Oh, my goodness, here a chick, there a chick, everywhere a chick. 99-cent chicks. They're all delivered, and they're looking for brand new homes. So, and they've got everything over there. All the feed, all the equipment, everything at Valley-wide Home and Ranch. You know, now's a great time for the first-timers to purchase a chick starter kit. So you swing on in and pick up your chicks at Valley-wide Home and Ranch in Rupert, your local home and ranch store serving you. And don't forget, they're located at 910 South Oneida in Rupert. And the people really care about you. They care about all the livestock. They've got everything there in the store, whether it's for the home, with all your clothing, your boots, everything, and the farm, all your material needs, and the ranch. They've got all your vaccines, everything there at Valley-wide Home and Ranch in Rupert. You stop in and see them today. All right, calls are welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Give me a jingle. This Thursday, we are going to be at Valley-wide. We're going to be at Denny's Restaurant. Yes, we are at 611 Overland in Burley. And, of course, it's Zeb's Lunch Bunch. This is the week on Thursday at 11:30, and we invite you to come on in. Come on in at 611 Overland in Burley. And don't forget, the very best of breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Great menu, and the service is absolutely fantastic. So come on by Denny's Restaurant, and don't forget, they've also got another one in Twin Falls, a brand new one at 291 Pole Line Road in Twin Falls. Denny's Restaurant serving you. And again, this Thursday is Lunch Bunch at Denny's. You be there. All right, calls are welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Just so you can kind of hold my feet to the fire a little bit, here are the top 16, the Sweet 16, that I believe are going to make it to that Sweet 16, and then I'll pick the final 8 after that. Kentucky, of course, undefeated, and for the whole season, and they look to be like the powerhouse, but I think the power will fall in the Sweet 16. I believe Maryland's going to make it. Notre Dame's going to make it. Wichita State is going to make it. And Kansas will make it. Wisconsin, I think, is going to be my dark horse surprise that might end up the national champion. North Carolina will make it, and Arizona will make it to the Sweet 16. All right, now, on the other side of the board, I believe that Villanova will make it. Northern Iowa, Louisville, Michigan State, if they don't fall apart like they did yesterday, Virginia, Duke as a number 1 seed, Iowa State, and Gonzaga. That is my selection for the top Sweet 16. And all the action starts this week, actually tomorrow. So we'll see what happens. Calls are welcome. 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Give me a call on the landline. I want to talk to you a little bit about your barbecuing and the EPA. You are maybe going to be told, nope, can't do that anymore. We'll talk about that in just a moment. Barry Equipment and Rental. Oh, my goodness. They got the big Doosan loaders. Don't forget excavators. And, of course, they've got all the equipment over there, whether it's the Bobcat or the Coyote tractors, Walker mowers, Doosan loaders, everything. Great pricing, great and fantastic warranties and rebates. And now is the time. Spring is here, and it looks like it's time to get all the kinks out and get to work. And you call them or stop in. They've got 3 locations serving you with Barry Equipment and Rental. And South Lincoln in Jerome, and, of course, Addison Avenue West in Twin Falls, and Highway 30 in Burley. Nick and the rest of the crew at Barry Equipment and Rental. All right, your turn. Give us a call, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. You know, of all the things that are going on in the world today, we've got to be scared of nuclear holocaust. We've got to be scared about ISIS. We've got to be scared about the economy. We've got to be scared of the IRS. We've got to be scared of this, that, and the other. Now, the EPA finds it their duty to target backyard burger and wiener roasts. The Environmental Protection Agency has its eyes on what they call pollution from backyard barbecues. I'm not making this up. The agency announced that it is funding a University of California project to study emissions resulting from grease drippings in the different backyard barbecues. And they say that the study is going to be used for the study for potential global applications. What? Yeah, if you go out on your back veranda, your back porch area, whatever, your back lawn, now they're saying that with the grease and the smoke and everything, the EPA wants to come in and regulate that. And they said that the technology they will study with the EPA grants is intended to reduce air pollutions and cut the health hazards of barbecues. And they also want to go after lawn mowers. When is enough enough? When are you absolutely going to be outraged and throw your hands up in the air and run for the barn and get the pitchfork and storm down Pennsylvania Avenue? When is enough enough? They're going to go after barbecuing and also mowing your lawn. This is not kidding. This is truthful. They're after us. They are after new innovative ideas to put on your barbecue units, which are going to cost you a ton of money. They are after and honestly want to go back to push lawnmowers with no engines whatsoever. The EPA. What are your thoughts? Give me a call, 436-2244. Caller, I'll be right there, I promise. I want to remind everybody I've got to get all my commercials in here this morning. Got a whole bunch of them. And we want to thank Will Tran Incorporated at 529 F Street in Rupert with Lucky Bourne. Oh, my goodness, they're looking for some good drivers. That's right, 2 years Class A driving experience and clean driving records required. Load and unload pay and apply online at Will Tran Incorporated. I heard you. Thank you. I'll be right there. Don't forget benefit packages available after 60 days of employment at Will Tran Incorporated. Call Lucky Bourne and the crew today at 639-6411, and they're located at 529 F Street in Rupert. Good morning, caller. You're on the air.
Good morning. You know, this whole thing could be cleared up real easily if the Senate and the House had any gumption to stop the funding on this kind of stuff. But they refuse to do it. And, of course, just to remind your listeners out there, EPA was never passed by an act of Congress.
That's right.
It was an illegal, unconstitutional executive order of Richard Milhouse Nixon. It started all this thing in about 1969 or 70. So this has been going on for, 45 years now, and Congress has the opportunity to cut the funding. When we had the shutdown a little over a year ago in the fall, 12,000 out of 13,000 people in the EP were considered to be non-essential. And so even at that, they should have given them all pink slips right there to go find a real job.
You know, when you talk about this EPA, though, Adrian, and I only got just a couple of seconds here, and then I've got another hard break, but people laugh and scoff at the fact that they might come in and try to regulate the backyard barbecues, or they might try to regulate or stop the use of lawnmowers. It's not funny anymore. They are after complete dominance and control.
Well, and on a more expensive part, look at your power bills, how they're going up, and they're going to continue, because Idaho Power is not going to fight all these mandates that are coming on the war on coal. They're just going to pass it along in your power bill, and natural gas, of course, is the replacement for the coal in some cases, and certainly solar and wind. But anyways, Zeb, the bottom line is, until we cut off the funding, and so Simpson and, our representatives, they just keep on passing the bills, and they don't take a stand on this stuff. They just kind of give it lip service. They talk about how bad it is, but when it comes right down to it, they'll fund illegal amnesty. They'll fund Obamacare, which is killing Idaho people right now with higher premium and so forth. I mean, it's just, if you cut the money off, all these things go away. But no, they just keep funding them, and Simpson's right, leading the pack.
Well, and another thing, too, that a lot of people don't realize, the Obama administration just killed a program that was really helping poor, low-income folks and also the elderly on their taxes. They just cut it off. They quit it. And now they're told to work with some of their people that are taking over the program, working through the Obama administration, where they've traced how effective they are, and over 49% mistakes. That's how ineffective they are.
Well, yeah, it's just totally crazy. Like say, you turn things over to the government, they think we can handle it better, and it just doesn't happen, as you well know. But you're right. Do they have time and resources to go checking on your backyard barbecue if you got a little smoke, or your lawnmower maybe not running quite right? I mean, good grief, give me a break.
And this is where every single person in the country needs to just stand up and say, okay, enough is enough, and just do it. Everybody start barbecuing in their backyard. Absolutely buy a barbecue or do whatever you can. It's time to defy this idiocy that's coming out of Washington, D.C.
Well, it is, Ed, but I don't know, and the whole thing is based on, all this global warming stuff is based on a fraud. The nation's temperatures, now we're getting the big thaw back there, but look at the flooding and so forth, and Boston broke an all-time record for snow and cold. In fact, there's places back there hadn't been above freezing for about almost 60 days.
Yep.
But they're still talking, we've got global warming. Of course, they call it climate change, to cover their tails.
I know. I've got to run. I got another call and a hard break. Adrian, thank you so much for your call this morning. Appreciate it.
Have a good one.
All righty. Caller, I'm going to ask your indulgence. Just wait for just a second. I want to remind everybody, too, about Precision, Streamline Precision, 120 South, 100 West of Burley. You call my buddy Tim Vaughn and the rest of the crew at 431-7314. 431-7314. Streamline Precision. And they've also got the website, streamlineprecision.com. They can put up the grain bins for you for on-the-farm storage, a good way to manage your money, save your money, and sell when you want to sell on-the-farm storage with the grain bins from Chief and Balin. They've got authorized dealerships for Sioux Cub, Chief Balin, and Nucor buildings, and they're doing a lot on the farm right now. As a matter of fact, they're building the brand new Funk Dairy just south of me right here in Murtaugh. Streamline Precision Manufacturing is a steel fabricator that makes custom machinery also for agriculture, industry, and food processing. You give them a call today and talk to Tim for estimates at 431-7314. Streamline Precision, the professionals serving you. Caller, real quick, go ahead. Good morning, caller. Go ahead, please. Damon, turn the call on, please. Thank you. Well, evidently we don't have a caller waiting, and we'll hopefully get that on in the next couple of minutes. And caller, I apologize. We thought we had you ready to go, but don't forget, too, our friends at Mount Harrison Audiology. Oh, thank you very much to Christine Pickup. And Christine Pickup at 1218 9th Street, Unit 2, behind the Minidoka Hospital, across from the emergency room. And the number to call, 312-0957. Don't forget to get a meeting for a hearing screening test, like I'm going to be going in. Next week, we talked to her, and we're all set to go. And hearing loss is not an age problem, so we sincerely invite you to give her a call and get all lined up to have your hearing checked at Mount Harrison Audiology. Please call her today, 312-0957. And right now, here is the Capital Press Ag Minute.
Today's Ag Minute brought to you by the Capital Press, the West Ag Weekly. The meat industry is seeing red. Meat companies have tried to rehabilitate an image tarnished in recent years by health and environmental concerns. Now the industry is swiftly and aggressively working to discredit a proposal for new dietary guidelines that recommends people eat less red and processed meats. The proposal last month by a government advisory committee also relegates the health benefits of lean meat to a footnote to the main recommendations. Barry Carpenter, the president and CEO of the North American Meat Institute, says his industry is through apologizing for its product. The industry is one of the more powerful lobbies in Washington. It spent about $7 million on lobbying last year and donated more than $5 million to members of Congress. This is Brandon Tenner. For more agriculture news and information, turn to the West Ag Weekly, the Capital Press, and capitalpress.com.
Well, thank you very much. Brought to you by Mount Harrison Audiology. The number to call for a hearing screening, 312-0957. You give them a call today. You know, it is time to give away some cinnamon rolls. Every Monday right now at 8:31, we give away some cinnamon rolls, and that's exactly what we're going to do on behalf of Sophie's Chatterbox, 530 East Street in Rupert. And you can win a half dozen delicious cinnamon rolls by answering the question. And don't forget, Sophie's Chatterbox breakfast, lunch, and dinner open 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. weekdays, open 6 to 2 on weekends. Damon, we're going to do this cinnamon roll giveaway. Tell the caller to hold on. And right now, we're going to give away these cinnamon rolls. All you have to be is the first caller with the right answer to this question. And here is the question for today for the cinnamon rolls. Who sang the song called He Stopped Loving Her Today? One of the great, great country artists of all time who recorded and sang the song He Stopped Loving Her Today. The first person with the right answer will receive a half dozen cinnamon rolls, and all you have to do is go into Sophie's and show your ID. Call ahead, though, at 436-054 and tell them when you want to pick them up, and they'll have them waiting for you just as fresh and tasty as can be at Sophie's Chatterbox, 530 East Street in Rupert. Who sang the country song, He Stopped Loving Her Today? And he turned it into a huge, huge hit. Good morning, caller. You're on the air. Go ahead, please. Talk to me, caller. Hello. We've got to get things coordinated here this morning and get the callers turned up right away. Go ahead, caller, please.
Yeah, Glenn. I'm scared to death of this House of Senate of ours. There hasn't been any change after the election. None. I can't see any. Look at how they voted on this immigration bill.
Yeah. Well, Fred, I agree with you.
They're going along like this, Obama.
Yeah. I couldn't agree more. It just seems like everything's going to the liberal side of the aisle, the left side of the aisle, the Obama side of the aisle. And I am in the middle of trying to give away some cinnamon rolls right now, Fred. I appreciate your call and also your concern as always. All right. I'm sorry, too. I'm having some problems, evidently, over at the board.
But anyway, you know, there's Mitch McConnell, and when I look at him, I see Harry Reid.
All right, well, Fred, thank you very, very much for your call this morning. I appreciate it. I'm sorry you can't hear me, but thank you very much. God bless you, man. Thanks. I'm going to have to call him back a little later and apologize. Let's go ahead right now, and once again, these calls will be for the contest for Sophie's Cinnamon Rolls. Please give me a call. Who sang the song, I Stopped Loving Her Today? Huge country artist. First person to call with the right answer is going to receive a half dozen cinnamon rolls from Sophie's Chatterbox. Give me a call right now, please. 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Good morning, caller. You're on the air.
Hi, is it George Jones?
Well, what's your name?
My name is Brittany Higley.
Brittany Higley?
Yes.
Are you related to the Higleys out there at Raft River?
I'm not. I'm related to Lee and Maria that do the cabinets, and then Cordell Higley is my dad.
Oh, well, for heaven's sakes, congratulations. Yes, it was George Jones, and all you have to do is just call him up over there at Sophie's and tell him when you want to come in and get those half dozen delicious cinnamon rolls, and they'll have them ready for you, okay?
Perfect. Thank you so much.
All right. Thank you. Yes, it was George Jones, and Brittany Higley is the winner. So congratulations. All right. Calls are welcome. 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. And also on Tuesdays, don't forget, we are really blessed to have Dr. History on our program. And, of course, brought to you by Minnecasia Sales, 1321 East Main in Burley, with Zach and Joanne and the whole crew. And they've got everything over there. All your doors, garage doors, your carpet. Oh my goodness, they're excellent at putting in brand new carpet, metal siding, and don't forget too, they've got all the Tartar Farm and Ranch equipment, all the panels, all the cattle handling equipment, everything. Zach and Joanne and the crew right across from the airport, Minnecasia Sales, 1321 East Main in Burley, bringing you and sponsoring Dr. History. Really, really appreciate those good folks. All right, give us a jingle on the landline, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. And I'd like to hear what you have to say this morning, and bear with us a little bit. We're having a little bit of a problem here this morning, so please bear with us for the rest of this morning. Gano Landscaping and Sprinkler Service, don't forget, 336 South, 450 west of Paul, and if you need your trees pruned properly, you just give them a call. Fruit trees, ornamental shade trees, large, dangerous trees, no problem. Stumps, they'll get them out of the ground. And they are in the tree and landscape business and have been for over 35 years. And they got lots of good firewood for sale, too. Scott Gano Landscaping and Sprinkler Service. Number to call, 431-8733. That number again, 431-8733. All right, let's get some calls in here. 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Obama and his administration thugs acting like they are with kind of a $350,000 deposit to Israel's opponent of Netanyahu. You know, a couple of weeks ago, we sat here and we listened to Obama and other members of the administration, like John Kerry, Secretary of State, and we listened to them say, well, now, wait a minute, we don't want to go to Netanyahu's speech in front of Congress because it might influence the Israeli election. What a lie, what a charade, and what a farce. Because now it's coming out that this Obama administration had donated over $350,000 to defeat Netanyahu in Israel and gave that $350,000 to the opponent. And the absolute involvement to get rid of Netanyahu and get someone other than him running the country as prime minister is very spooky. You talk about influencing election. Right now, it looks like it's working, because as they go to the polls tomorrow, it may be such that Netanyahu will not win that election. And I don't understand why or who Obama is trying to handpick who wins that election. And I'm assured that it's going to be somebody on the liberal left that is going to be possibly coinciding with what America wants as far as very liberal policies. Very liberal policies. Tomorrow is the election. And even Hollywood actor Jon Voight really upset at the Obama administration for trashing Netanyahu in that $350,000 involvement in the election. What are your thoughts about this, as it's our number one ally in the Middle East, and Obama's administration doing all they can to be very subversive against Benjamin Netanyahu? Let me know what your thoughts are, please. Calls are welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. I'd like to hear what your thoughts are. Give me a jingle on the landline here this morning. I want to remind you, too, about a job fair coming up, and this is really interesting because it's going to be this Thursday, March 19th, from 4 to 6 p.m. at the Idaho Department of Labor at 127 West 5th Street North in Burley. And it's going to be all about new job opportunities at Dot Foods. That's right, they're hiring for multiple positions. Drivers, full-time, part-time, team drivers, transfer drivers, warehouse people, full and part-time. And I really, really strongly encourage you to get over there on Thursday from 4 to 6 p.m. And the key tone of this whole thing I want you to remember is they're growing and they're hiring at Dot Foods. Believe me. So be sure and get over there on Thursday, 4 to 6 p.m. at the Idaho Department of Labor, and get your applications in for Dot Foods. All right, give me a call, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. I would appreciate your calls right now. It's been kind of an interesting morning so far, so please give us a jingle. When I turned on the TV this morning, the first thing I see at 4 a.m. is the Secretary of State, John Kerry, standing there with the Iranian leaders, all of them smiling, all of them looking like Cheshire cats, and it makes one wonder what kind of a deal has been promoted and cut with Iran. The one thing I hope and pray, and I really am praying on this, is that somewhere in these deals that they are cutting with Iran, there will also be the verbiage, very direct and very hardcore, to release Pastor Saeed Abedini, the Boise pastor that has been held over there for such a long period of time, and bring him home to his family, right in the Boise area. Nagme, his wife, and his children. His little boy had asked for the birthday present of, please, President Obama, do something to bring my daddy home for my birthday. Well, that's not going to happen, unfortunately. And all we can do is hope and pray that Pastor Saeed Abedini is going to be released from that Iranian prison and that he will be brought home. And if that is not a part of this deal, if that is not a part of this treaty, if that's not anything that Secretary of State Kerry is talking about and Obama, then it's criminal. It's absolutely criminal that they're not demanding the release of this pastor, not tomorrow, not the next day, but right now. Give me a call on your phone at 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. What are your thoughts? By the way, it's that time of the year again, and we say, yes, we're really glad to have our friends with Penetron Soil Conditioner by Maisie, with a 21-year proven record of increasing yield and quality of all Idaho crops, speeding germination, reducing crusting, improving stands, stimulating root growth and microbial activity, and building soil structure. I'll tell you what, Penetron saves on expensive fuel costs, too. Penetron Soil Conditioner gives faster water infiltration to reduce runoff And low-cost Penetron saves 10 to 15% on irrigation water. So, and you know, as I've told you for many times on this program over the years, Penetron-treated crops have better roots that reduce stress for water and nutrients. Better crops, performance, and a proven soil conditioner, Penetron by Maisie. You get the original, not the cheap imitations. Contact your crop advisor today to obtain Penetron soil conditioner, and also call Adrian Arp at 734-2255 for additional information. Penetron by Maisie. Oh, please give us a call at 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. And I'll try to hear you, you try to hear me. Don't forget, Red's Trading Post is going to bring us the weather right now. Oh, boy. Red's Trading Post, 203 5th Avenue South in Twin Falls with Ryan Horsley and the crew in historic Old Town Twin Falls since 1936. And they've got the best of guns, the best of ammo, and the best of accessories, always serving you. And don't forget, they'll give you top dollar for your used guns, too, at Red's Trading Post, 203 5th Avenue South in Twin. Here now, Michael Rogers weather.
Hello, everyone. Michael Rogers for Zeb of the Ranch Starter with brand spanking new week of you, me, weather. It's kind of boring, but, you know, it's like you're going to get to that point, I'm telling you now. You're going to string these days, typical Magic Valley weather. You start stringing sunny days, dry thunderstorms, warm temperatures. We're not at the warm temperatures yet. You're going to see highs in the 60s all week long, 40s for the overnight low. Got some clouds today, slight chance of rain tomorrow, and then you'll come out of it day after tomorrow with mostly sunny conditions. Enjoy the weather. It is the only weather you've got.
All right, Michael, thank you very much. Our weather forecast brought to you by Red's Trading Post, 203 5th Avenue South in Twin Falls with Ryan Horsley, our good buddy that's been on our program many, many times. Don't forget, Red's Trading Post in historic Old Town Twin Falls. All right, it's your turn, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Give me a jingle about anything. Ferguson police believe they have caught the shooter. They believe they have the suspect in hand that shot the two police officers the other evening. And I certainly hope that they are right in finding this person and that they triumph to every extent of the law and punish him. The excuse that this suspect made and gave to the police was absolutely idiotic. He said that he was being mugged in the crowd and took a gun to stop the mugging, and the bullets accidentally hit the two police officers. Yeah, right. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Yes, good morning, Zach.
Hello, Tony.
Things this morning.
Don't ask.
Obama, I'd like to see nothing more than somebody like de Blasio take over Israel. And that's one of the main things. The second thing is he's looking to borrow more money from China, from what I understand, because our national debt is escalating. And then this nut job wants to bring in millions more people to put on our welfare system. This guy is the worst thing that ever happened to this country.
You know, Tony, there were some letters in the paper the last couple of days, and some people said, oh, we shouldn't criticize Obama. Oh, we should respect and honor the office of the presidency and everything else. Where is the return respect for you and I, the taxpayers and the citizens of this country?
Oh, he's taking us for a bunch of fools. He figures he's got another year and a half in office, and there's nothing we can do to him between now and then. That's the problem.
What did you think about the $350,000 given to the opposition to Benjamin Netanyahu by the Obama administration? They said, oh, no, we can't get involved in other politics, but they are heavily involved in trying to defeat this man.
Well, you know, the only person we've got over there that we can trust in the Middle East is Netanyahu. And he's made an enemy out of our best ally. And to treat him like the way he did, you know, the Democrats ran like a bunch of rats when they knew he was coming over here. You really get to the point where you don't know what to say anymore.
Well, we, the American public, are in a lot more trouble, I think, than most people realize. We've got messes going on now with Hillary Clinton and the emails and the lost emails on a private server that might very possibly have to do with Benghazi and other foreign affairs materials. We've got the problem with the Obama administration, and they're getting involved in other countries trying to sway the vote. This whole thing is absolutely getting completely out of control, and it's hard, really hard right now to respect the office of the presidency.
That's right. Then they want to start beefing up our number of troops we're going to send back over there. I don't see how that's going to happen. A lot of our troops know that they lost arms and legs, and many of them were killed trying to save Iraq. And then when our troops left, who filled in?
Absolutely.
Now they're going to go over and do it again?
We need to get down on our knees and really do some serious praying, Tony, because we are in some bad state of affairs right now. And then, above all, this past weekend, you hear that ISIS is going to be joining up with another really radical terrorist group, Boko Haram, and basically they're going to join up like a Mickey Mouse Club, and we're not doing anything. Our president, our leadership is not doing anything in this country to assure us that they're in control of the situation.
The terrorists are already here in this country waiting for the word to stop blowing up our bridges and our schools and everything else. Pretty soon, if the military doesn't step in and take this country over, we're going to be doomed.
I have a lot of worries that way, Tony. Thank you so much, and the very best to you and Mary. Thank you. I appreciate your call. Thank you. When you hear the stories about Boko Haram, just absolutely insidious people out of Africa, terror groups, joining forces with ISIS and what they want to do and their promotion of Islamic terror. And what do we hear from the White House? What do we hear from the administration? Nothing. What do we hear about what they're doing as far as following all these terror acts and these terror groups? Nothing. And it gives one pause to sit there and just really start sweating bullets as to how safe and secure we really are. Give me a call, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. I'd like to hear from you. While we are waiting for your call that I know is coming in, don't forget spring tire sale at your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. Oh, thank you very much. They do a wonderful job on all the tires you need for your four-wheeled wonder, whether it's your car, your pickup, or your SUV, horse trailers, whatever, boat trailers. They've got tires for every driving need, and like I said, they're having their big spring tire sale right now. You be sure and stop in. They've got the passenger car tire, the Ultra Z900, all-season design, and up to an 80,000-mile warranty on those Ultra Z900s, depending on the size of the tire. So you check that out. And also, the Wildcat AT2 pickup and SUV tire. They've got them all for you on sale for your driving needs. Don't forget, convenient credit for tires and services, and the best tire value promise in the industry. You stop over and see any one of the 7 locations: Lane and Rupert, Dave on Blue Lakes and Twin, Mike and Buell, Mike and Jerome, the Twist family in Paul, John on Poline in Twin Falls, and Randy on Overland in Burley. Your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. You stop in and see them today. All right, give me a call, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. There was a little story on the news this morning. It wasn't a very long story, but it caught my attention. That on the new Hertz rental cars, they have a dash-mounted camera. And what is the camera looking at? You and me. Yeah, that's right. A little bitty, small dash-mounted camera on the Hertz rental cars. And when people started to complain and say, wait a minute. I don't want to be on camera. I don't want to rent this car, and then everything I do, everything I say, whether I comb my hair or whatever, I don't want it to be all recorded. They said at Hertz, oh, well, not to worry. Why, we haven't turned them on. Why, we wouldn't think of invading your privacy. We wouldn't think about recording you. We haven't turned them on. Oh, please. You know as well as I do that how would we ever know? How would we ever know? Another little bit of privacy. For just an instance, take a moment and tell me where and how we still have all the freedoms of privacy that our Constitution afforded us. I mean, there's cameras on the streets, there are computers, and there are microphones. There is everything every day recording our movements, taking away our freedoms, listening to our phone calls. And what freedoms of privacy do we really have left? Call me on that. 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. I had to chuckle at this, even though it is a very serious public service announcement. Of course, I do have a rather warped sense of humor. But Marion Wickham, if you are out there listening this morning, I got to admit it brought a chuckle to me this morning as she said, I'm still laughing about this, I can't help it. She said on Tuesday, March 17th, tomorrow, there will be a blessing of the animals at the Rupert United Methodist Church on 8th Street. Anyone interested, they're invited to bring their pets to this special event. And then on Friday, March 20th, also at the United Methodist Church, they're going to have a chicken noodle dinner. Chicken. Sorry, Marion, I didn't mean to make light of it. They're going to have a blessing of the animals one night, and they're going to have chicken noodle soup the next. Calls are welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Give me a call. I'd love to hear from you. Also, don't forget, too, while I'm waiting for your call, Cheney Flooring and Home Design. Hello, Kyle. Hello, Whitney. Thank you for everything you do. 1228 Oakley Avenue in Burley. The number to call is 678-6945. Look for the blue door. Every morning when we start the program off, we have the weather sponsored by them, and you can stop in anytime, all the time. Monday through Friday, 9 to 6, Saturdays, 10 to 4 at Cheney Flooring and Home Design. Caller, good morning. I got a minute left. Go.
Good morning, Zeb.
Yes, sir.
I was just reading Cow Pies and Coffee Cups and your story about the birds. You know, a few years ago you called the Fish and Game. Maybe you could call them again.
Well, I tell you what, we did manage to curtail all the birds. We had thousands and thousands here. As you know, you were here, and we put up little caricatures, and we put up little screening devices and everything. Finally got rid of the birds and enhanced them to go build their nests elsewhere. But it seems like all these birds, the minute I wash a vehicle, what is it, the shine or what, that they come and they try to land all that gobbledygook on your windshield?
They do at my house, too.
All right. I got to run to the news, Jack. Call me later. I'd appreciate it. Thank you much. God bless you.
See ya.
All right. News next from CBS. We'll be back in 6. Don't go away. Good morning, good morning. Hour number 2, Zeb at the Ranch. And, of course, we're brought to you by your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers, all 7 locations serving you. And also our good friends at Valley-Wide Home and Ranch, 910 South Oneida in Rupert. Everything for the farm, the home, and the ranch. And our great friends at Western Waste Services.
From the canyons of the Snake River and all across southern Idaho, we're always at your disposal. Western Waste Services, we care about our community, our resources, and its great land. Western Waste Services is lending a hand.
Western Waste Services, always at your disposal. You'd better believe it. And locally owned and operated, and that means a lot. That means a lot. These are people that live here, work here, and serve you. So please remember, they've got all the dumpsters in various sizes. Fill them up and call them and say, hey, they'll come get them and get your trash out of there. Get on the route service. I love that route service. They are so dependable. And also, don't forget, too, they've got all the porta potties. They've got everything for you. Please give them a call, 734-6969. Western Waste Services, always at your disposal. Real quick, before we get our next guest on the phone, I want to remind you about Hanson Mortuary, 710 6th Street in Rupert, with our dear, dear friend Joel Hewitt, his family and his staff as manager of Hanson Mortuary. Don't forget, they travel to rural towns and churches and can help you with all the arrangements when there's the passing of a loved one. You do not have to go all the way into them. They will come to you. Please give them a call at 436-5636. Always upholding the highest ethical standards with unquestioned integrity. Hanson Mortuary, 710 6th Street in Rupert. Well, right now, let's say a good morning to a dear friend of mine back in Golden, Colorado. Good morning, our dear friend Frosty Woolridge. How are you, Frost?
Good morning, Zeb. Just a real pleasure. Boy, things are certainly popping across the country right now, so it's good for us to dig in. You know, and one thing for every listener listening to the Zeb, Bell Show and Zeb at the Ranch and getting, the Cow Pies weekly vignette, you are getting some of the finest quality and some of the greatest speakers and some of the most in-touch interviews that Zeb can bring you in depth in the fact that these are the interviews, these are the men and women coming on the show that actually know what's going on because they've made a study of it. So I'm really proud to be one of them, and it's and if there's any chance for our country to better ourselves or give ourselves hope for the future, it's because of you, the listener, and of course all of these great individuals coming on your show. And I'm just proud to be here with you.
No, I appreciate that, Frosty, and you've been here with us a long, long time. You are one of our absolutely A1 personalities to come on this program and discuss the world issues. And I think what I'll do this morning, and like you said, we've got so much to be worried about in this country, whether it's the riots that are going on, whether it's the shooting of police officers, whether it's the administration making deals under the table with Iran. Really, where do we start first this morning? You tell me.
Well, one of the things, because there was such a huge discussion here in Denver, Colorado this morning on one of the top radio shows, a man whom I respect a great deal, and it's about the fact that we keep importing Muslims into this country, and all of the top Muslims have all, whether it's CARE, which is the Council on American Immigration, on the Council on Islamic Relations here in New York, whether it's the Muslim Brotherhood, or whether it's the 8 people that are Muslims on the staff of Barack Obama, now in the White House, and literally advising him daily. This interviews this morning with an incredible man who wrote a new book on Islam in America and in the Western countries, and he documented where all of these top Muslim clerics and imams who were university presidents were all part of the terrorist network. They all absolutely got themselves involved because they're here to create caliphates and ultimately to create Sharia law as the dominant law of America and of Canada and of Europe and of Australia. And man, I was floored. And so what I did write, and you all can go to newswithviews.com tomorrow. It will publish, but it's already published on beforeitsnews.com and featured. It's down there on Freedom's Phoenix. It's also on Tea Party Nation, so it'll be all over. But it's titled National Discussion on Endless Legal Immigration Needed. I'm calling for a total shutdown of immigration into our country, other than a few people that want to marry a foreign guy or girl. We do not need another single immigrant in our country. We don't want more multiculturalism. We certainly don't want any more Muslims in this country. We cannot afford them. And so that is on my latest column, and I hope that everyone passes this around because it's extraordinary how we're swamping our country, and it needs to stop. We need to keep our country, and let them take care of their own countries by doing something in their own country for a better life.
You know, Frosty, I got to be really honest with you, and we've been friends for so many years. But when you first came on this program, and we started talking about the illegal aliens, and we started talking about the lack of border security, you know, it was just one subject of many that I had to cover on this program. But then all of a sudden, I really started listening to you, and I really started comprehending the severity of what's going on. And now, today, I mean, I would absolutely stand shoulder to shoulder with you anywhere, anytime. Why can't they close the borders? Why are we letting these people in, whether it's ISIS or Boko Haram or whatever the terrorist group? They are coming through. They've caught some already on the Texas border. We don't know what's happening, but yet this administration basically is thumbing their nose at our Constitution and our laws, and they're telling you and I that we and our opinion doesn't matter.
Well, that's correct, and it's because the American people simply are not raising the bar. The American people are not asking the questions, and we are in a politically correct straitjacket. I want you to understand that political correctness is really a term that is stopping all discussion, all rational discussion for American citizens to bring up the fact that we don't need any more immigrants. Bring up the fact that multiculturalism is not working. Bring up the fact that these immigrants that are coming in at 100,000 every 30 days are not working in our country. They're literally living off food stamps and Section 8 housing and all the welfare. That no one's talking about the fact that we've got 172 different languages in the Denver public schools, and that nobody is learning anything because we're always teaching down to the lowest common denominator, and that's the immigrant. From a world pool added 80 million new babies every year in these desperate countries, and so there's no end to the line. But will you think that Kathleen Parker of the Washington Post, or Thomas Friedman of the New York Times, or do you think Bob Schieffer on Face the Nation, or what's his name, Todd on Meet the Press will say anything about this? Will they interview somebody like me who's highly educated and researched on all this information? They won't touch it because of political correctness. And again, political correctness is a straitjacket for the truth. And no one wants to deal with the truth in this country at the higher levels, and the American people are simply remaining silent because of their fear of being called the name. I guarantee you, they called a lot of names to George Washington when he was in his, moving this country toward independence. They wanted to kill Thomas Jefferson. They wanted to kill Ben Franklin, and they called them names too. I'm going to stand with those men, and even Abigail Adams. She got called a lot of names. Susan B. Anthony got called names. I'm going to stand with those Americans because they had the courage to stand up for their country, speak up, speak out, and literally lay their lives down. And I am in the same arena. I will lay my life down for my country even though I'm 68 years old. That's all there is to it, because I'm an American citizen.
I guess I don't comprehend why and how the American public has been duped into thinking that no borders are okay. Letting anybody and everybody in is all right. Letting people in to file for welfare and Social Security benefits from dead persons' SS numbers, and they get the money out of our pockets. What in the world is the matter with the general American public that they're not caring or concerned about what's right and wrong anymore?
You know, Zeb, you're asking really double-sorted, double-edged kinds of questions, because I'm not sure that the American people at this point either care enough or can muster the courage to vote for somebody that's going to stand up for them and absolutely advocate for them. I think there is such almost a swirl of apathy across the American landscape that as long as their little community isn't touched by this, then let's just stay with the old ways and let's not rock the boat and let's don't get ourselves in any kind of a confrontation. And I think that could be what's happening. And so we slowly, and now even more quickly, find the people over there in Minneapolis, Minnesota, they got 100,000 bush people from Somalia that are not speaking English, don't care. I just talked to one of the adjusters that said they don't even go to their classrooms for English. They don't want to even learn English. They're not here to assimilate into the American way of life. And the American people just keep backing up with that reality coming at them like a freight train.
I'm just at a loss. I get on this program and I talk to you on Mondays and I talk to various other people that believe like we do that this United States of America is still the greatest country in the world, but it's being run by nincompoops that won't honor the laws and regulations and especially our Constitution. And then we criticize these people and we're the ones that are the bigots and the hate mongers. There's something wrong with this picture.
Well, there is, and I want you to really make this clear. We have a man in the White House right now who is systematically, literally neutralizing and decapitating, if you will, the U.S. Constitution. In fact, that's a good word. Barack Obama is beheading the U.S. Constitution either by his usurpation of the Constitution and the executive orders, or the fact that I talk to some pretty powerful people. Everything he does is very Islamic. If he's not, you know something, I got to just say this right out. Barack Obama is a Muslim. I mean, that's all there is to it. Everything he's done is a Muslim. Because Muslims break the law. Muslims do things that have nothing to do with law and order. Muslims do not adhere to U.S. constitutional law. Muslims always, in the end, they back into and support Sharia law, which has absolutely nothing to do with American law, and certainly not the U.S. Constitution. And Muslims can lie to move their religion forward. So that shows you that Barack Obama is a Muslim, so he gets the law. And whether it's the Social Security number, which is a total lie, a backdated selective service number, which we know is a total lie, we still don't know his place of birth, and we don't even know his father. It could be Frank Marshall Davis, whom he actually resembles a great deal more. So this man is promoting literally dishonesty and lies in the federal government, and he's getting away with it because everybody else is afraid to do or say anything about it. But I'll tell you what, I'm going to stand right here and I'm going to say it.
I don't blame you at all.
Obama is taking the United States and the American people down a very dishonest, lying pathway, and we're all going to pay for it for years to come.
I totally agree, and I think that as long as we have that First Amendment, I'm going to keep right there with you. I want to ask you about another subject, and let me give just a little preview here so you understand where I'm coming from. About 3 weeks ago, Obama got on all of his press reports and the newscasts and everything and said, oh no, when Benjamin Netanyahu comes to America to speak before Congress, I'm not going to be there because that would be an influence on the Israeli elections. And then we find out, my dear friend, that this administration has contributed $350,000 to Netanyahu's opposition, trying to get him beat. If that's not influencing an election, I don't know what is. What are your thoughts about that?
That's amazing because even, Bloomberg came out here to influence the elections in Colorado for the governorship of Colorado, and he won it because he put in hundreds and hundreds, if not millions of dollars to defeat Tom Tancredo, to keep John Hickenlooper, who is a liberal and who is pro-amnesty and pro-illegal aliens, who, in fact, when he was a restaurateur in the Denver area, hired illegal aliens long before anybody knew it and long before he became Denver's mayor and then, of course, Colorado's governor. And so what you see here is a tremendous amount of corruption, and because it's so corrupt that those in power keep the corruption going. And let's face it, Netanyahu is twice the leader of a free country as Barack Obama is, because Barack Obama in the last 6 years hasn't done squat to to help the African-American citizens, hasn't done squat to secure our borders, doesn't know his butt from a hole in the ground when it comes to war because he never was in the military. He never served our country, and he spent the first 10 years of his life following the Koran in Indochina, where he went to Muslim schools. Those are all facts. And so that's what we're facing, and that's the situation. And so, yeah, an inferior leader like a Barack Obama, or an incompetent leader like Barack Obama, he doesn't want to deal with somebody like Netanyahu, because that man is a man.
Absolutely.
He's a man leading a free nation, and that is one of the reasons why he's doing everything he can to defeat Netanyahu.
Absolutely. We have a caller with a question. Go ahead, caller, quickly, please. You're on the air. Go ahead.
Yes, Mike Simpson really took Sarah Palin to task for the Muslim influence in the State Department and the White House. And, of course, Valerie Jarrett was born in Iran. She's obviously a Muslim. And I'd like him to comment about the Muslim influence at the top levels of our government, because people need to be aware of that, because it's been very well hidden. Thank you very much.
Well, first of all, let me state also, Mike Simpson actually took Michelle Bachmann of Minnesota to task with a letter of condemnation because she was asking about all the Muslims in this administration. And go ahead and respond to that. I think that there are many politicians that have absolutely aided and abetted a pro-Muslim stance by this administration. What are your thoughts, Frosty?
Well, this should say it all right here. And thank you, caller. That's a very outstanding question. In Audacity of Hope, Obama wrote, and I am quoting, folks, "I will stand with the Muslims should the political winds shift in an ugly direction," unquote. That is a book written by Barack Obama called Audacity of Hope on page 261, if you want to know which page it is. And so the fact is that Barack Obama would stand with the Muslims. That means he is a Muslim. You don't stand with the Muslims unless you're a Muslim, because you don't get out of the Muslim cage once you're in the Muslim cage and the mindset of a Muslim. And the Quran is absolutely the final destiny for anyone who stands with Muslims, or the Quran. And so right now we've got 1 year and 9 months of a Muslim in the White House. And you better believe he's going to do everything he can to import as many Muslims into this country to create greater numbers. We've got 75 Syrian Muslims are going to be coming in here as refugees, as mandated by the UN. And then, of course, we have the regular chain migration of Muslims coming into this country, because there's 7 million of them, so expect millions of more of them. And that's why I raised the question. We need to shut down all immigration into our country. And, of course, I've got 2 examples here. Curtis Ellis wrote, 500,000 U.S. women mutilated in the barbaric practice of female genital mutilation. Number at risk has doubled in tandem with the immigration from Muslim countries. This was just published 2/6 of 2/15. Ingrid Carlquist of Sweden said that a Muslim rape capital of the world, of the West right now, is Sweden. And that was written 2/14/2015. And Arnold Allhurt said 1 million child victims of Muslim rape gangs in the United Kingdom. The city's Labour MP Sarah Champion believes as many as 1 million children have been victimized by Muslims, describing it as a national disaster that requires a task force to deal with the horror, unquote, February of 9 of 2015. The fact is, as these Muslims continue to pour into this country, they are moving into bigger and more powerful governmental areas. We've got 2 Muslims in Congress right now. What happens when we get 20 of them into Congress? And then we get 40 of them into Congress. They're going to start pushing for Sharia law in their little areas. And we are going to be backing up because we are so cowardly, and we're showing ourselves to be so cowardly. And absolutely, that Jarrett lady, she said years ago at a speech at Stanford University in 1977, and I'm looking for it right now because somebody asked me, where did you get that quote of hers? But she said, I'm trying to paraphrase it until I can find it on my computer here. she said that we are going to keep using the American Constitution against the American people to ultimately install Sharia law into America. Well, guess what, folks? She's well on her way.
Absolutely. Well, Frosty, I'm also almost out of time this morning, but I wanted you, just real quick, I have come up with my bracketology for the NCAA March Madness, and I am going to give you now a long-range prediction as to who will play in the final night championship game. Are you ready?
Sock it to me. I don't think it's going to be Michigan State Spartans.
No. And by the way, what a comeback yesterday, Wisconsin over Michigan State for the Big Ten championship. But it will be in the championship game, Kentucky, and a little drum roll here, Wisconsin.
Hey, I'm a Big Ten boy. Once my Michigan State Spartans lose, I'm a Big Ten all the way, so it's going to be the Wisconsin Badgers, by gosh.
All right. Hey, listen, man, really good conversation this morning. The best to you.
Do we have 30 seconds?
Yes, go ahead.
I've got the quote.
Okay.
I've got the quote. Valerie Jarrett, top Muslim in Obama's advisory panel. She said, and I quote, at a speech in 1977 in Stanford University, I am an Iranian by birth and my Islamic faith. I'm also an American citizen, and I seek to help change America to be more Islamic country. My faith guides me, and I feel like it is going well in the transition of using freedom of religion in America against itself. Unquote. Valerie Jarrett.
And she is the person, if anybody doesn't know this or doesn't remember, she is the person that basically is in control of Barack and Michelle Obama. What she says, Obama does.
She is the top advisor to Barack Obama and Michelle.
Absolutely. Put a note down.
We don't have Muslims in the White House, folks.
Absolutely. Put a note down, and we'll discuss this more next Monday. And I also have some extra quotes that I want to put in there. Frosty Woldridge, Golden, Colorado. Dear friend, God bless you, my friend, and have a great week, and we'll look forward to next Monday. Thank you very much.
Godspeed, my friend.
All right, take care. Frosty Woldridge, dear friend. Hey, by the way, don't forget the Great Big Job Fair going on this week on Thursday, March 19th at the Idaho Department of Labor in Burley at 127 West 5th Street North. That's hard to say fast 5 times. Stand by, caller, I'll be right there. And don't forget, this Great Big Job Fair is to present to you a lot of information about Dot Foods and their hiring positions for drivers, full and part-time, team drivers, transfer drivers, and warehouse people, full and part-time. And they just really are a great place to work. They're growing, they're hiring. Dot Foods in Burley. Don't miss this Great Big Job Fair going on this Thursday from 4 to 6 p.m. Get in there with your applications at the Idaho Department of Labor, 127 West 5th Street in Burley, and check out job opportunities, career opportunities at Dot Foods right there in Burley. Really nice people. Also, don't forget, too, our friends at Let's Ride, 270 Highway 24 between Rupert and Hayburn. Oh, my, it's snow check time. You know what snow check means? Well, if you want a brand new snow machine built just the way you want it, all you have to do is pay $500 down and get it custom built to your specifications. That's right. Get into Let's Ride today, Highway 24 between Rupert and Hayburn, or give them a call and tell them you're coming by, 436-4771. And don't forget, too, they've got all the brand new ATV side-by-sides by Can-Am and rebates for 2015 and a great service department, too. So you stop in and see them today. Let's Ride, where the fun is sold between Rupert and Hayburn on Highway 24. And right now, let's see, I got to turn on my little deal here and see. Damon sent me all the information. Thank you, Damon. I appreciate that. Carrie Kupek is ready to go with the Alliance Defending Freedom. Good morning, Carrie. How are you, my lovely lady?
Good morning, Zeb. How are you this morning?
Busier than a one-armed paper hanger, to be honest with you.
Uh-oh.
And I really appreciate the stories that you sent me in preview of what we're going to be talking about this morning. But here we go again. Here we go, another story about private business being dictated to as to what they can or can't do. Give us a little background about this printer in Lexington, Kentucky.
Sure. like we always talk about on your show, every American should be free to live and work according to their faith without fear of government by the punishment. Without fear of punishment by the government. And as you and I, Zeb, both agree, our government was formed to be freedom's greatest protector, not its greatest threat. But unfortunately, it's more and more becoming the greatest threat in this nation. And we have another situation with a person who is living according to their faith. He's in Kentucky. He's a printer. His name is Blaine Adamson. Really nice guy. I got to spend some time with him last week. And he's a T-shirt printer. And this is what he loves to do. And he's had a very successful business for a while. And a local organization came in and asked him to make T-shirts promoting a gay and lesbian, a pride parade, a gay pride parade. And he respectfully referred them to another printer who could do the same exact job for the same cost, because he's a Christian and because, his faith teaches him that marriage is one man, one woman, and he just could not, in good conscience, do that. And the local commission filed a complaint against him, and they ultimately ruled against him, ordered him to undergo quote-unquote re-education training. And so now we're at Kentucky State Court, and on Friday our attorney was arguing the case there, arguing for Blaine's ability to continue to live out his faith respectfully and freely, but to be able to do so, which the Constitution protects him to do.
You know, Carrie, we've talked about this type of story in the past, and I want to break this down a little bit. In Blaine's case, there's a little bit of a story sentence in the story that says the government is coming after both his freedom and his ability to make a living. You know, there's not one of us that is safe. Maybe it might be a news press release about a gay and lesbian or transgender happening, and if we don't run it on the radio, they might threaten to sue us. I mean, nobody is safe in this that has anything to do with the media or any type of job, and it's all about time that we stood up and fought back as a unified voice, is it not?
Absolutely. And one thing that was very disturbing about this commission that reached its decision against against Blaine is that they admitted, or the local organization that was part of the part of this process that's suing Blaine, admitted that this has the potential to affect all Lexington, Kentucky area printers, regardless of their views. So say you are, say you are a pacifist and you are just strongly opposed to war in any shape or form. You just hate war. It goes against everything you are. Well, if you are a T-shirt printing company or local family business, and someone comes in and asks you to create T-shirts that promote the next upcoming war, well, you don't have a choice. You have to do it according to a ruling like this. And the Gay and Lesbian Services Organization admitted as much, and they said, yeah, I think that is what this is going to lead to. And it's very concerning. And again, just like all of our other clients are in similar situations, Blaine regularly does business with and employs people who identify as homosexual. So this is not some kind of, lunch counter Jim Crow situation that the opposition so likes to throw out there and distract from what's really going on. But what this is about is the government coming in, strong-arming citizens to celebrate and promote a message which completely contradicts and violates their faith and who they are, and threatening punishment if they don't fall in line and fall into lockstep with the government's ideology. And it's very disturbing for all people, like you're saying.
What do we do, though? I mean, it's great to have the Alliance Defending Freedom on our side, but what do? We are being forced and coerced as a citizenry to accept lower moral standards, to accept abnormal lifestyles, or they will come in, destroy our business, destroy our lifestyle, and force us into a re-education training, which I want you to elaborate on just after you take this call. Caller, good morning. Quickly, give us your point, if you would.
Well, I want to go back. Did she say a re-education of this person?
Yes.
We're back to World War II and Germany. That's exactly what they did.
Well, that's exactly right, Kilman, and I'm going to have Carrie elaborate on that. That was the point I wanted to talk about more than anything. It's nothing more than government mind-bending. And Carrie, to the caller that just called, elaborate on that point. This is government mind control, a re-education training. Tell us what they do.
100%. It's essentially training that forces the employer and their employees. So the employer is forced to, quote-unquote, teach the government's ideology on this particular issue. So it doesn't matter that marriage has been upheld across race, across culture, across time for thousands and thousands of years, that, Western religions clearly teach that marriage is one man, one woman. It doesn't matter. The government is forcing these people, these so-called human rights commissions, force people like Blaine or people like some of our other clients who we've talked about on our show to essentially completely reject that, fall into lockstep with what the government's teaching, and force their employees to do the same. And if they don't do so, they can face punishment. And what's interesting is this is being done in the name of so-called tolerance, which is a total joke. If we're really talking about tolerance, that means Americans should tolerate a diversity of opinions and not use the government to punish fellow citizens who have different views.
How does this work, though, Carrie? I mean, I'm not trying to be facetious at all. I mean, I'm very concerned. Do they invite you to a class? Do they have everybody come in and sign in? Do they give everybody a notebook? And then at the end of the class, when you graduate and your mind has been controlled by the government to go along with their abnormal opinions, you get a certificate of abnormality? What do you get?
Yeah, it's totally disturbing. Your point is well taken, and I know some of these situations involved quarterly compliance reports.
Oh my
which says that
goodness!
Yes, I no longer quote unquote discriminate on the basis of, say, my religion, and you have to essentially file these reports with the state, saying that you have trained your employees, that you are now following the government's opinion on these kinds of things, and you're going to continue to do so. It's pretty creepy.
This is nothing more than an attack on decency and normality. This is an attack on civilized rights. This is a complete devastation of everything that our Constitution stands for. I mean, I don't know why more people aren't outraged by this.
And they should be. Again, I'm beating a dead horse over here, but it needs to be because, again, if the government can do this to Blaine, or the government can do this to our Baker Jack in Colorado, or our Flores Barronell in Washington, they can do this to anybody. This is not about tolerance. This is about strong-arming and forcing citizens to reject their faith and this freedom of religion that this country was founded upon. These First Amendment freedoms of speech, of expression, of association. These are the things that are fundamental to a growing and healthy democracy. And with decisions like these, that completely destroys those fundamental, components that we need in order to continue as the country that we are.
Before we go to the next story, just tell me, are we winning? Are we losing? Are we just at neutral ground? I mean, are people becoming aware of how insidious this thing is, and are they speaking out? Give us an update. I mean, what are you hearing?
Sure, and actually there is something to be encouraged about. People are, I think, starting to wake up. There have been some recent polls that have come out in the last few weeks where the majority of people polled have said, hey, this is going too far. You can't force artists to promote and celebrate messages with which they disagree. That's taking it too far. You're forcing expression, you're forcing speech, you're forcing violation of faith. This is a problem, and polls are backing this up. So I think people looking at these cases are starting to have their eyes open and say, oh, wait a second, this is getting scary, and hopefully they'll continue to do so. And that's why it's very important for people like yourself to keep talking about these on the shows And Alliance Defending Freedom is committed to advocating for, people who are being forced by the government to violate their faith in this way. But I do think that people are starting to see the light on this.
The other story is equally as heinous and absolutely disgusting as the first story, and that's about in the heartland of America, Iowa, the High Court should uphold ban on webcam abortions. What in the world are you talking about, webcam abortions?
Yeah, webcam abortions are very, very frightening procedures, and certainly, if anyone is going to suffer, it's certainly going to be the health of women on that one. And what's ironic is it's Planned Parenthood who's appealing this ban on webcam abortions to the Iowa Supreme Court. And considering Planned Parenthood likes to talk a big game about how they are pro-women and pro-women's health, well, that's a joke when it comes to webcam abortions. And their concern should be the health and safety of women, not their bottom line of being the largest abortion business that we know. And what a webcam abortion is this? I'm going to read you a little bit about the specifics, because I really just think it's important for your listeners to hear this, because it's really, it's disturbing. So in Iowa, in some of the more remote areas, what they've done is they will have some remote clinics, but there's no licensed physician there. And a physician at another location, usually Des Moines, the capital, they'll ask a woman a few questions via an internet webcam connection, and then they press a button to open a drawer in front of the woman, and then there are abortifacient drugs in that drawer. So then the woman takes those drugs. They're remotely instructed to take the first set of pills at the clinic and the second pill 24 to 48 hours later. Then, if at that time or at a later time, the patient experiences post-chemical abortion side effects, which can range the gamut of, something from some cramping to some really life-threatening things.
Oh, my.
They should report to their local emergency room and then, and this is the kicker, falsely report that they are experiencing a miscarriage. What kind of healthcare is this? What kind of procedure can you do via internet? Take pills that could potentially really kill you or really do some serious damage to internal organs, and this be okay? And the fact that Planned Parenthood is appealing this ban on these kinds of procedures, that they actually want this to go forward, it really says a lot about where they stand and how they really feel about the care and health of women.
Why isn't there, and how do we go about doing this? My question is, why isn't there more media coverage and reporting about how insidious Planned Parenthood is? Why isn't there somebody out there in every television area of the United States that wants to be an investigative reporter to really show what Planned Parenthood stands for and what they're doing? Why aren't there more people concerned?
That's a great question, and I think partly what it is that Planned Parenthood is one of the most powerful, well-funded lobbying groups in this country. They are a powerful force here in Washington, D.C. They are a ton of influence across this nation. They are an abortion powerhouse, if you will, which is sick. And what's interesting is that Alliance Defending Freedom filed a brief, a friend of the court brief in this case, and one of the parties that we filed this on behalf of is actually Susan Thayer, who's a former director of an Iowa Planned Parenthood facility. She actually resigned her position rather than perform a webcam abortion. That says a lot. And so it's amazing to me that anyone or media or journalists wouldn't see this as an opportunity to expose the fraud, the kind of an organization that makes its money off of really ruining women's health and ruining their lives, yet purports to do the exact opposite. But I think this procedure speaks for itself. I can't think of any medical procedure that one can do that poses such serious health risks like this one that is allowed to go forward. So let's hope that the Iowa Supreme Court affirms the lower court's decision and says, no, we will not allow this kind of procedure in the state of Iowa. We care about women. We care about women's health. This cannot happen any longer. And
there's really, I want to back up and reiterate, when these women do this on a webcam, they're basically creating the medical procedure by themselves, and if something happens things, or if there's an allergic reaction or whatever to the medicines or the absolute medication portion of this, there's nobody there to help them.
Not at all. And it actually, webcam abortions, they're a significant deviation from the FDA protocol for these kinds of drugs, the administration of these kinds of drugs. It's really unbelievable.
I'm sitting here shaking my head that complete incompetency and idiocy has taken over in our current administration and what's going on. And we, the taxpayers, what really galls me and makes me mad, we're putting money on the table for Planned Parenthood, aren't we, as taxpayers?
We are, and there have been multiple reports put out, and we put one out every year for the last few years, showing the misuse, the waste of taxpayer dollars, the potential fraud that's committed with those taxpayer funds. And then you look at something like this. I don't know that many Americans know that their taxpayer money is potentially being funneled to a group that allows an incredibly unsafe and hazardous medical procedure to women in these rural areas. And it's so disturbing and upsetting.
Oh, wow. I mean, I'd like to lead the charge to really start to clean up America, and I know you're helping. I know the Alliance Defending Freedom is helping every day. How can people follow these horrendous stories on your website? Give us that information, please.
They can go to alliancedefendingfreedom.org, or if they want to look at some of the legal documents, or for instance with this webcam abortion situation, if they want to look at the letter sent or some of what the actual procedure is like, they can go to adsmedia.org.
Well, you did it again, Carrie. You got me all worked up and mad. I'm going to have to go find that girl. Well, listen, honestly, all kidding aside, you are excellent at what you do. God bless you, and I'll look forward to next week. Thank you so much.
I will too. Thank you, Deb. Have a good day.
Thank you. There is a wonderful lady, Carrie Kupek, with the Alliance Defending Freedom. Can you imagine? You got to sit there and ask yourself something, folksies. We have just degenerated into the bottom of the cesspool in this country. I mean, webcam abortions? Are you kidding me? Through Planned Parenthood? Nobody there to help them if there's a reaction. And then, if you own a business, whether it's a T-shirt company, a baking company, a greeting card company, it doesn't make any difference. The gay, lesbian, and transgenders can sue you if they're not happy, and if you don't want to take on their cause or promote their cause, they can sue you and they can destroy your business. And then the government tells us that we have to go in for re-education. What in the world is the matter with us? We should be outraged, and I am. I will not kowtow to this foolishness. Calls are welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. It's time for the weather. I got to cool off for a minute. Urgent care of Jerome, 133 West Avenue A, Suite B in Jerome. Really good folks. Their health, your health, is their number one priority, and they understand that being sick or hurt is not convenient. So they do the best to make your health care convenient for you. Urgent care of Jerome, 133 West Avenue A, Suite B in Jerome. The number to call, 324-2004. Minor emergencies, major care. Here now, Michael Rogers weather.
Hello, everyone. Michael Rogers for Zeb at the Ranch Center with a brand spanking new week of you, me, weather. Kind of boring, but, you know, it's like you're going to get to that point, I'm telling you now. You're going to string these days, typical Magic Valley weather. You start stringing sunny days, dry thunderstorms, warm temperatures. We're not at the warm temperatures yet. You're going to see highs in the 60s all week long for the overnight low. Got some clouds today, slight chance of rain tomorrow, and then you'll come out of it day after tomorrow with mostly sunny conditions. Enjoy the weather. It is the only weather you've got.
Thank you very much, Michael. Urgent care of Jerome, 133 West Avenue A, Suite B, and the number to call in Jerome, 324-2004. They will see you today. Also, don't forget our dear friends. Man, I mean they are. And that's Cameron and Siemens Insurance. And they're located on Highway 24 going into Rupert. Number to call, 436-4424. Cameron and Siemens Insurance for the best of your life insurance needs, health insurance needs, retirement planning, employee benefits, all there through Dean and Todd, serving you, very accessible and devoted to serving others. Cameron and Siemens Insurance, Highway 24 in Rupert. I got a little story that I wrote about this past week in my Cow Pies and Coffee Cups blog, and I was so enraged when I heard this story, and I'll just kind of paraphrase everything for you this morning. Last week, when Obama wanted to go to California to be on the Jimmy Kimmel Show, and also wanted to attend a fundraiser, he jumps on Air Force One with all the personnel, all the materials needed, and the security cars that are packed in planes that follow him, you know, and then also don't forget all the different people from the White House staff, and just to run the plane for an hour, it costs you and I, the taxpayers, over $200,000. Just for the plane costs alone. Oh, but wait. Michelle wanted to go along, but she did not want to go along with Barack's schedule. She said that on the way home, Barack's got to stop at the Phoenix, Arizona VA. I don't want to go there. I want to go someplace else. And so they line up, of course, another jet for Michelle. Oh, hairstylists, all the First Lady's personnel, again, more security guards, the same thing amplified, and the cost of the plane, $200,000 an hour. You see, it's okay because it's our money. It's not coming out of their pocket. They can go ahead and live lavishly, and they can live stupidly, spending our money, at a time where our boot heels are hanging over the cliff, waiting for a stiff breeze to knock us into the abyss of economically being broke forever. And she, Michelle, didn't want to go and be tied to Barack's schedule. So another airplane, another jet at $200,000 an hour, follows Barack to California. You know, there are no words. There are no words. And I looked at the thesaurus this morning. There are no words that legally I can say how disgusted I am with this administration and the waste that's going on right now. We absolutely need leadership that says, no, if it costs a nickel more, we're not going to do it. No, Michelle, get on the plane with your husband, and I don't care if your schedules are out of sync. Either that, or stay in Washington, D.C. and knit the whole weekend. I couldn't care less. But you're not going to have another plane that's going to follow him to the same destination, because your schedules are out of sync. Don't forget our dear friends at Streamline Precision. I'm very honored to have them on the program, and I know Tim is busier than a one-armed paper hanger, and everybody connected with Streamline Precision. Busy, busy times, and they want your business. They are the best at building for you. They are an authorized dealer in Sukup, Chief, Balin, and Nucor buildings. They can build the grain bins for on-the-farm storage just right for you. Also, they're busy trenching all the pipelines for the irrigation, and also a lot of concrete work for mangers and feed alleys. Valleys. These folks are the best. Streamline Precision has manufacturing, contracting all under one roof. Coordinated, accurate, confidential, consistent timelines to meet their clients' demanding needs. And they're out here south of me right now currently building the brand new Funk Dairy. They know what they're doing, and they can help you. Call Tim for an estimate today at 431-7314. That number again, 431-7314. Streamline Precision, 120 South, 100 west of Burley. These are the pros that really get things done. You get a hold of them today. Oh, and by the way, when you talk about pros, I got to talk to you about Mad River Laser. I am so high on those folks. They can do anything. I mean, I've had business cards made over there, and I've had, of course, all the sweatshirts and T-shirts and the caps, and I'm going to be having a lot more made. Mad River Laser, 502 E Street on the Square in Rupert. The number to call, 436-2293. And also, don't forget, they've got the buck knives. I love knives. I've got a collection of knives. And right now, the buck knives are 10% off. And engraving is free, and they're, like I said, the buck knives are on sale right now. Get over there. They can make any business promotion item, your logo or your business name on anything, sweatshirts, caps, jackets, you name it, it's all there, along with all the employee recognition plaques that are 25% off this month. Nothing better than to give your employees a little recognition, a pat on the back, and let them know they're appreciated for the job they do. Mad River Laser, 502 E Street in Rupert, 436-2293. Okay, what have we got coming up this next hour? Let's take a look. We are going to be visiting at 10:06 with Mr. Lowell Ponte, and he really is going to get in water up to his neck and tell us about why Obama does not like Netanyahu and why Obama's administration contributed over $350,000 trying to defeat Netanyahu in the Israeli elections that are going to be held tomorrow. As a matter of fact, he's going to come on the air. And then at 10:32 this morning, we have the Idaho Legislative Update, and Representative Fred Wood will be on the program. Caller, I got 30 seconds, real fast, go.
I want to set your day. Anyway, what do we do with the frustration? They won't listen to us. They won't answer their calls. They won't do a dumb thing back there.
You know, Helen, I wasn't kidding earlier this morning, and I don't mean to be rude to you because I got to run to the news, but I think it's time to pick up the pitchforks and storm Pennsylvania Avenue like in the old days. They've got to see us face to face, and they got to know that we're unhappy.
Well, they have this thing the other night, or the other day. How many of them showed up?
I know.
Hardly nobody.
It's appalling. I hate to be rude to you, but I got to run to the news. We'll talk about it tomorrow morning, first hour. Call me back. All right? God bless you. Here's the news from CBS. I'll be back in 6. Listen to that old piano. Yes, sir. I love that. Hit the ivories. I love good piano music. Good morning. I'm Zeb Bell at Zeb at the Ranch, and our major sponsor, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers, all 7 locations serving you. And then also, don't forget, we've got some great advertisers on our program, like Western Waste Services, always at your disposal. Call them. Get on the route service, 734-6969. And our friends, Chick Days are going on over at Valleywide Home and Ranch, 910 South Oneida in Rupert. Everything for the farm, the home, and the ranch. And like I said, here at Chick, there at Chick, Chick Day is going on at Valleywide right now. Before we get started with our next guest, I want to remind you about the Chadwick Sports Grill. Great eating over at the Chadwick. Holy smokes, when it comes to food, I'm an expert. And today they're going to have a special of blue cheese, bacon, and onion ring burgers. Does that sound good? With choice of soup or salad, Bucci's bacon and onion ring burgers at the Chadwick Sports Grill. Get over there. Great menu items, super nice people at the Chadwick Sports Grill, 139 West Main in Burley. Oh, and by the way, real quick, too, I want to remind you again about that job fair coming up this Thursday at the Idaho Department of Labor, Thursday, March 19th. This week, Thursday, 4 to 6 p.m., they have got some wonderful job opportunities with Dot Foods. And Dot is growing, they're hiring, and they need some really good people. They need drivers, full-time, part-time, team drivers, transfer drivers, warehouse people, full and part-time. All you got to do is be over there and check out the employment opportunities at Dot Foods in Burley by going to the job fair this Thursday, March 19th from 4 to 6 p.m. at the Idaho Department of Labor, 127th West 5th Street North in Burley. All that being said and done, right now let's go to the phone lines, and we have with us a gentleman that's been on our program in the past, and his latest book is co-authored with a gentleman by the name of Craig Smith. It's Don't Bank on It, The Unsafe World of 21st Century Banking. Amen. And that, of course, is Mr. Lowell Ponte. Good morning, sir. How are you?
Zeb, great always to be with you. Happy Nowruz.
Happy who?
Oh, this weekend the White House has been massively celebrating Iranian New Year, or the Persian New Year, a big event in that part of the world. In fact, the biggest holiday of the year. So you'll be happy to know your president is now a dedicated follower of that holiday.
I'm so glad I missed it. Lowell, I got to ask you, I read the headline on what we were going to talk about this morning, and everything that has taken place with the Obama administration and the animosity and antagonism against Benjamin Netanyahu and Israel, and then leading up to the elections tomorrow. What are your thoughts about why? Why is Obama and this administration being so rude to Netanyahu?
God only knows, but we do know this. President Obama's full name is Barack Hussein Obama. His father was a Muslim. His stepfather in Indonesia was a Muslim. He was registered as a Muslim himself when he was in Indonesia as a child. To this day, he says that the most beautiful sound in the world is the Muslim call to prayer at sunset from the minaret. He's someone deeply empathetic with Islam. But how you can psychoanalyze this president, let me give you an example of how tricky that can be. We have in Mr. Obama someone who believes it should be illegal for you or me to have a .22 caliber plinking rifle, or for your wife to have a .38 handgun so she can protect herself against a rapist. But he believes it's okay for the leaders of Iran to have nuclear weapons. Now, who are the leaders of Iran? They are 12ers. They're not just Muslims. They're not just Shiites from the wackier side of Islam. They are believers in the subset of Islam that believes if they can start a big enough global war, that will bring the coming, maybe the second coming, certainly the coming of a figure predicted in Islamic prophecy, the Mahdi. The Mahdi who will bring the final triumph of Islam all over the world by fire and sword. These are the guys who believe that if they die in combat, in martyrdom, they get not only the 72 virgins in heaven, they also get, and this is from the prophet's own lips, they get young boys with skin like pearls for their sexual gratification in heaven. And these are the people Mr. Obama wants to give nuclear weapons to. While he thinks you and I, as law-abiding Americans, shouldn't be allowed to have a .22 caliber rifle. I mean, how do you square those things?
Absolutely. Lou, let me ask you a question here and break this down a little bit. And earlier this morning, I was on the air with my dear friend in Golden, Colorado, and that's Frosty Woldridge, and we were talking about our border system. Our borders are absolutely non-existent. Why? Why aren't we, the American people, demanding that this administration do something to stop the porous decline of our borders? And we know that people, whether it's ISIS or whether it's Al-Qaeda, they're coming across our borders. Why are we letting this happen?
Well, in the first place, you're assuming we still have a southern border. I personally have argued in Newsmax, where I'm a columnist, and elsewhere, What we actually have is a kind of Obama-mander. You've heard of Gary Mander, named for the former Massachusetts Governor Elbridge Gerry, who would win elections just by redrawing the boundaries of congressional districts to tilt them one way or the other. Well, Mr. Obama, feeling he doesn't have enough votes in the U.S., has just stretched the U.S. border so that it now includes Mexico and it now includes large parts of Central America, so that those people can be brought into the voting population here and, in his estimation, in the long run, bring about decades and decades and decades of Democratic Party domination, believing they will tend to vote Democrat. I'm not sure he's entirely right about that. What he doesn't take into account is that the average Latin American coming to the U.S. is God-fearing, is Christian, is Catholic, tends to dislike abortion, tends to have a strong work ethic. These are not factors normally thought of as allied with the Democratic Party anymore.
Let me ask you.
These are strong family value people, by and large. And so within 3 generations, the Democrats are going to lose them. They will probably become a conservative voting bloc by then. But in the meanwhile, all American freedoms will have been stripped away. The other reason, of course, in my estimation, is Mr. Obama makes no secret of the fact that he's well out to the left politically. Leftists have always been frustrated in America because, according to Marxian theory, what's needed to win a successful class warfare and to overthrow capitalism is an army that are called the proletariat. What distinguishes the proletariat is they're a working class with no sense of mobility, no sense of hope, no belief they'll ever be anything except workers. That has never grown natively in American soil. That is, working people tend to come here and think, we don't hate the rich, we want to become the rich, which is not the attitude Marx expected the proletariat to have. And it's been impossible for the left to do a complete takeover of the country. So what is Mr. Obama doing? Well, if you can't grow a proletariat here, you import one. So he's importing a proletariat from Latin America and expects to take total control of the country forever and ever with that army of class warriors.
Let me ask you about an individual that is not talked about enough, an individual that I think, and what I've read and heard, is very, very dangerous, and an individual that I think leads Obama and his wife Michelle by the nose, and that's Valerie Jarrett. How concerned are you of this woman?
Valerie Jarrett, who was born and raised in Iran, and who thinks like an Iranian, and who is, some believe, the de facto real president and policymaker of the U.S. I'm concerned. But of course, since Obama operates outside the law in most of his policymaking anyway, I'm not surprised by it. The question is, why all this glorification of Iran in particular? Because look at the instability and that this is causing. By the way, one of the many things that disappointed me about the way the media covered Mr. Netanyahu's arrival was not only that they lined up with Obama to trash him, but Americans were never even told who Benjamin Netanyahu is. Benjamin Netanyahu was a commando in the Israeli Defense Forces. He was wounded 3 times fighting terrorism himself. His brother Yanni was the leader of the successful raid on Entebbe to rescue an airliner full of Israelis and Jews who had been skyjacked to Uganda. They got them out. The only one who didn't get out was Yanni himself. Benjamin Netanyahu's brother was killed by terrorists in Entebbe, apparently by a terrorist sniper. And what it comes down to is, as a journalist who's done a lot of coverage of stories in the Middle East, the first time I went to Israel almost 40 years ago, I remember people telling me, you know, if you see a package that's been left on a bus or is on a park bench or anywhere else, run, get away from it, call the authorities. It's probably a bomb. Now, 40 years ago, in America, if you talked about such things, that was just unbelievable. Nobody expected to see bombs laying around on park benches. But today, in the wake of 9/11 especially, we need to understand we're all Israelis now.
Absolutely.
And
well
someone
said.
like Benjamin Netanyahu, who has governed under almost constant terrorist threat and attack in his time there, he has a great deal to teach us. And for the President of the United States to believe that that's all irrelevant, that somehow Iran can be brought around. Let me tell you, not only do we have religious fanaticism ruling Iran, we also now, thanks to Obama policy, Iran is now occupying Iraq. Do people know that?
Yes, that's exactly
around
right.
their holy holiday of Ashura, last November, December, 1.3 million Iranians were allowed into Iraq with absolute minimum credential, kind of like allowing Latinos to cross America's southern border. They were coming for a religious holiday, but there's no record of how many have ever left. We know that right now, as the fighting's been going on in Tikrit and Mosul area, that is now deeply involved with Iranian troops, Iranian elite troops from their guard, and they are indeed driving ISIS back. But in effect, there's no indication they will ever leave the country when they're done. In other words, we may have already seen the Anschluss, when Hitler just rolled his troops into Austria before World War II and took Austria over without objection. Well, Iran and Iraq are both Shiite countries. Iraq has been taken over already by the Shiite faction of its politics. By the way, I apologize for my sore throat. Now we have Iran, in effect, occupying much of Iraq. And they're not going to leave. This is now a fait accompli. So what are we doing about it? Well, we're negotiating. Here's the problem with negotiating. Especially Shiite Islam has certain religious doctrines. These doctrines have names like Al-Taqiyya, Ibtirar, Kitman, Hiyal. But what they all boil down to is you have a right to lie. If it advances the cause of Islam or it's needed to protect you, you can tell any lie you need to, and God will be content with it. The big thing is that Islam win. And remember, their view of the world as Islamists is the planet is divided into only two areas. There is Dar al-Islam, the House of Islam, where Islam already rules, and there is Dar al-Harb, the House of War, in which Islam is fighting to take what God promises will be its inevitable, eventual control of the planet. Now, we are negotiating with people who believe it's okay to lie in a treaty. In fact, you can sign any treaty to fool or deceive the enemy or the infidel. The only limitation on that is the treaty must not be of more than 10 years' duration. Oh, by the way, just in case you were wondering, the treaty President Obama is negotiating is of 10 years' duration. But there will be no enforcement. I mean, we claim we will have inspectors, but if the inspectors are not allowed into facilities, is Mr. Obama going to do anything about it? No. Already, President Obama has said he will not take this treaty to the U.S. Senate, as the Constitution requires. He's going to take it instead to the United Nations Security Council and get a Security Council vote ending sanctions against Iran. And once those sanctions are ended, they will never be put back, no matter what Iran does.
Let me ask
sometime in the next 1 to 7 years, Iran will just announce, oh, by the way, we have nuclear weapons. And oh, by the way, even though we made an agreement in 2010 that we would not build ballistic missiles, we've been building ballistic missiles like crazy. In fact, they're doing it right now.
Right.
And nothing's being done about it. Oh, this is significant, too. President Obama, when he took office, the U.S. already had an agreement to set up an anti-missile facility system in Poland. That would have been capable of knocking down Iranian strategic missiles aimed at Europe or at the United States. However, President Obama, as one of his first acts, reneged on building that anti-missile system. So America will be vulnerable to missiles from Iran, but they won't need them. They will have terrorists as their delivery system. The beauty of a terrorist is you drive a Volkswagen van with a nuclear weapon in it into Pocatello, you set it off, and nobody can be sure where the bomb came from.
Absolutely.
Unless you take credit for it. So the U.S. economy destabilizes, people are terrorized. We are forced, as they were after the end of the Roman Empire, to just build castles and become entirely defensive and end all rights here in the U.S. Our economy will be devastated and crippled. and Iran will have achieved virtually everything it wanted to achieve in the short run without even admitting that the terrorist nuclear devices come from them.
Lowell, it might not be important.
America will be subjected to from a country that, by its very doctrine, says it will not keep treaties. Oh, and if you want another example of Obama policy, Mr. Obama has declared, apparently, and as of 2014, he quietly told Benjamin Netanyahu, if you Israelis so much as attempt to strike Iran and neutralize their military development, we, the U.S., in the Persian Gulf, are going to use our weapons and our jet fighters to shoot down yours. In other words, he threatened to attack Israel if it threatened Iran, but he won't threaten Iran itself. He won't say the obvious, which is, if you break these treaties, we may have to preempt you. So what did he do next door in Egypt? Well, in Egypt, the president went in, spoke against our longtime ally there, Hosni Mubarak, who for 30 years had maintained peace with Israel, and toppled the Mubarak regime, which was then replaced with the Egyptian Brotherhood, which is an Islamist regime bent on creating a one-world global Islamic rule. And what was President Obama's response to that? Oh, he offered them jet fighters. He offered the new Islamist regime F-15 and F-16 jets from the U.S. Then the crazies who were trying to end democracy altogether in Egypt, because after all, Sharia law is not compatible with democracy ultimately, they were then overthrown by the Egyptian military. And the Egyptian military is basically pro-American.
Absolutely.
I mean, it came up under the Mubarak regime. What did President Obama do then? Oh, he terminated the offer of jet fighters to a pro-American regime in Egypt. Do you begin to see just how hard it is to psychoanalyze this person?
Absolutely. Now, let me ask you one final thought here, Lowell. I've only got about 3 minutes left. It's very important to us here in the state of Idaho because he's a citizen of our state, and that's Pastor Saeed Abedini that's been a captive over in an Iranian prison for a couple of years now. Why can't they get him released? Why isn't John Kerry? Why aren't the president and his staff making a forceful move to get this man released? It's not even part of the negotiations.
Well, he's a Christian. Mr. Obama has made it very clear that he has no deep, abiding love for Christians or Jews, but he has overwhelming love for Islam. So why is he going to do anything that would threaten his negotiations, his mark in history? You know, the problem is his memorial in history is going to be places like New York City and Washington, D.C., turned into radioactive holes in the ground, all in the name of peace. But the funny thing is, there will be no peace. Because if and when Israel is pushed to the edge of the sea and is about to be destroyed, Israel itself has perhaps 1,200 nuclear weapons. They're not going to sit there and leave them unused. They will unleash them on every country around them. They will destroy the Aswan Dam and send a 100-foot wall of water down the Nile. They will take out all the holy and military sites in Iran, including Tehran itself and the holy city of Qum. They are going to take out all of the Shiite places, especially in Iraq. They are going to take out the Mecca, or in Mecca, the Kaaba itself, and leave the black stone that Muslims travel there once in a lifetime to kiss. They're going to leave that so radioactively damaged and glowing that it will basically kill any Muslim who kisses it for the next 25,000 years. In other words, you're not going to get peace by destroying Israel. You're just going to get more destruction. And Mr. Obama seems congenitally incapable of understanding that. Apparently, he too believes the Mahdi will miraculously appear. And the U.S., according to a piece that appeared last October in the Atlantic Monthly by their main Middle Eastern correspondent, Jeffrey Goldberg, he said an Obama administration official told him that U.S. threats and intimidation had stopped Netanyahu from attacking Iraq up until now, and now it's too late, said the official, smiling and happy about it. So apparently they want Iran to be a nuclear power, and that will guarantee that Saudi Arabia becomes a nuclear power, and that will guarantee massive proliferation and eventually weapons in the hands of all kinds of terrorists there. Oh, by the way, you mentioned earlier our book, Don't Bank on It, which discusses the dangers of computer jihad against the West and other things. If your listeners would like absolutely free and postpaid a copy of this book, which is 256 pages long, we'd be happy to send it to you. Just jam-packed with mind-boggling information. All they need to do is call a toll-free number, Zeb, 800-630-1494. That's 1-800-630-1494. Or as I like to say, think of Columbus sailing the ocean blue in 1492, but not quite. It's 1-800-630-1494. We'd be happy to send you this free book just to arm you with information, how to protect yourself against what Obama's done to, among other things, our banking system.
Absolutely.
You no longer even own the bank account you have in the bank, thanks to Obama policy changes.
I will make sure.
We're no longer protected by the FDIC, which is now able to cover only 1 out of every $14 it claims to insure, and so on. So banking has changed enormously. And what are they paying you for taking those risks? Oh, they're paying you nothing. The interest the bank's paying you.
I appreciate the opportunity to have you on the program, and we just didn't have enough time. I want to have you back in the near future. Ladies and gentlemen, Lowell Ponte with the book, Don't Bank on It, The Unsafe World of the 21st Century Banking. Thank you so much. God's blessings, and I'll be in touch. Thank you.
And God bless America, Zeb.
Thank you, sir. Very well stated. And boy, he knows all about the Middle East and all the high-tech terrorism that's going on and what happens with this administration versus what's happening over in those Middle Eastern countries, Mr. Lowell Ponte. And I'm very, very honored to have him come on my program this morning. One thing about having Lowell on the air is that you don't have to sit and ask a lot of questions, but you can sit there and listen. Let's remind everybody real quick before we send it back over to our studios that on Thursdays we have a segment called Cassia County School Days, and it's brought to you and sponsored by A Child's World at 1308 Overland in Burley. They've got all the spring dresses, and they got the boys' suits, and they got the medical scrubs and shoes. They got all the games, the puzzles, everything, all the baby shower presents, everything for you and your family at A Child's World, 1308 Overland in Burley. And also, if you have a surgery coming up, whether it has to do with colonoscopies or tonsils, sinus problems, whatever, please call the Ambulatory Surgery Center on Highland Drive in Burley, 1344 Highland. The number to call for more information, and believe me, they can save a lot of money for you folks, 677-8888, 677-8888. Ambulatory Surgery Center and A Child's World, bringing you school days in Cassia County. Oh, and by the way, not too far away from that, of course, is our friend, and that's Nick Greenwell, physical therapist, and heads up the crew at Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation, 1263 Bennett Avenue, Suite 2 in Burley. I've been going over there working in the hydrotherapy pool on the treadmill. Oh my, they know all the exercises, know all the sports medicine exercises, and of course, they can help you get back to being you. Great staff taking care of you. All you have to do is call 678-1191, 678-1191. Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation, 1263 Bennett Avenue, Suite 2 in Burley. Right now, let's send it back over to the station and Damon with this break.
And now, back to Zeb at the Ranch on AM 1230 KBAR. To reach Zeb, call 436-2244 or toll free 1-866-927-4587. And now, here is Zeb Bell.
We're going to have our guest with us on the phone in just a moment. Representative Fred Wood, stand by. I just want to remind everybody quickly about Streamline Precision, 120 South, 100 West of Burley. They can build anything for you. It's a family of companies providing construction, excavation, and fabrication services. And right now, of course, they're right in the swing of things for all the agricultural projects. And by the way, farmers, if you want on-the-farm storage with grain bins, they can help you. They're an authorized dealer in Sukup, Chief, Balin, and Nucor buildings, and believe me, they can get the job done. All you have to do is call for an estimate today. Call Tim at 431-7314. Let me repeat that number, 431-7314. 323-731-7314. Streamline Precision Contracting, providing complete excavation services. They can also do all the large pipelines, irrigation canals, and, of course, settling ponds and all the trenching for pipelines. Please give them a call. They're working on the brand new Funk Dairy over here in Murtaugh right now. The number again for estimates, 431-7314. Streamline Precision, right next to Dot Foods in Burley. Let's go to the phone line right now. I'm sorry to keep him waiting. It's been a busy, busy morning, and we have with us Representative Fred Wood. Good morning, Fred. How are you?
Good morning, Zeb. How are you?
I'm doing well, thank you. I certainly want to compliment you and Scott Bedke and Senator Dean Cameron for taking time out of the legislative session to keep their constituents informed as to what's going on during this session. And you have always been, and I'm not trying to feather your nest, I'm just being straight up honest. You've always been a man of character and a man of honesty, and you've really been very attentive to what your constituents are asking and wanting to know. With that being said, the article that was in the Times News yesterday gave an inference that the Republicans and conservatives don't care. They just want to wrap up the session and go home and leave a lot of loose ends. What was your response to that article in the Times News yesterday?
No, I didn't like it very much. And Zeb, in America, everybody's entitled to an opinion, and everybody's entitled to express that opinion, and that's fine. I get that. But what nobody is entitled to do is to misrepresent the facts. Mm-hmm. And I printed off that article, and as a matter of fact, I have gone through it, and I'll address two or three things because I just, you're not allowed to misrepresent the facts or not be in complete knowledge of the facts but represent something else.
Absolutely.
So, the first thing is if we, and if I might, let's just go down through a couple of these things because I think it's important for your readers to understand actually what is going on up here and how hard we are actually trying to solve this issue and still get us out of here on the 27th so we don't spend money needlessly.
Absolutely.
But if you go down to the third paragraph, it says the career ladder proposal has already been gutted thanks to tax-adverse backbench conservatives. Well, that's just simply false. That's not true. The career ladder is intact, and the career ladder is going to be, that bill will be brought out tomorrow morning, introduced, and they've had hearings on it already. It'll come up to the floor a couple of 3 days after that, and we'll debate it on the floor, and I think it will pass with a margin. The career ladder is intact, and the career ladder hasn't changed. What they're arguing about, Zeb, is the governor in his budget wanted $101 million new dollars in education. Mm-hmm. And some people think that that's a little rich, and maybe we ought to go somewhere. I've heard figures of 94.5. I've heard figures of 91. I've heard figures of whatever. But the fact of the matter is whether it's 91 or 101, the career ladder doesn't change. And here's what does change, just so people kind of understand what's going on. When the legislature sets the K through 12 education budget, we send down to the individual school districts so much money per classroom unit, and a classroom unit is 18 students, other than a couple of exceptions. And this year that's $84,000, almost $85,000 per classroom unit. We send that to the districts. The districts take that money, and then the districts determine what goes on with respect to individual salaries within a certain category. Okay? Now, the difference between $91 million and $101 million, $3.5 million of that, is the governor wants to fund 168 new units, classroom units next year. A lot of people in the legislature are saying, wait a minute, the historical average would only come up to 100 to 125. We don't need 168. We think 125 is a better number. Therefore, instead of the 101 million, we'll take 3.57 million off of that. And then there's a couple of other issues like that. That is the controversy between 91 million and 101 million of new dollars into education. It has absolutely nothing to do with the career ladder. And that's what I find a little bit disingenuous with the article. The other thing it says is the cost in the out years. Leadership says the scaring off the right-wing base. Well, I'm here to tell you that scares me, Zeb.
Absolutely.
And we have to be careful about setting budgets and make sure we can meet them in the out years. Now, the legislation is designed such that if, in fact, the revenues go down and the economy goes down, all we have to do is fund less, but it doesn't interrupt the programs other than they're going to have to tighten their belt along with everybody else. Okay? But it's not some, conservatives from Cassia County that are down here, or that are up here trying to sink the budget. That's just simply not true. I find particularly offensive the paragraph on Senator Sidaway, and that he had the guts to challenge his caucus fringe and their corporate paymasters. Wait a minute, Zeb. I don't know of anybody in the Idaho legislature that is bought and paid for, and it sure as hell isn't anybody from Legislative District 27. I can tell you that.
Don't you get the feeling
that just is somewhat patently offensive to me? And I can go further on down, but I'll be quiet now. I understand there's a caller, and you'll probably have some comments too.
I'm so glad you're addressing these things head on. Caller, go ahead quickly, please. I've got a short period of time. Go ahead.
Yes, Fred?
Yes, sir.
The part of the legislature this year that bothered me was the amount of money we gave to the wolves. I heard several years ago that they'd cost us over $1 trillion in big game and, other animals in the state of Idaho. Why are we spending such a teeny-weeny, small drop in the bucket amount of money fighting something that is doing so much damage and costing the state of Idaho so much money?
All right, thank you for your call. Go ahead, Fred, please.
Okay, Zeb, I think the connection's okay, but I missed the very first part of that. We're spending a lot of money on what?
On the wolves and the management of the wolves, but actually he is in favor of curtailing the wolf numbers and also managing the wolves, and wants to know, basically, if I'm paraphrasing, if $400,000 is enough per annum to do the management properly.
Well, as I understand it, the wolves have stabilized. They are not gone down, and we need to get their numbers down a whole lot more.
Absolutely.
I don't know whether 400,000 is enough. I would like to see their numbers reduced down to where they were, barely kept off of the endangered species list. One of the problems I think we're having is that they're a lot harder to take out and hunt and control that one thinks of. And money is not necessarily indicative of the best way to do that. You can actually control their numbers better, cheaper. Now, whether or not we would be allowed to do that, but the state is in control of it now, and we can do that. I think we need to have a different management system to some extent. And I'd be happy to, I'll tell the caller, just call me personally. My phone number is 312-1056, again, 312-1056, and I'll be happy to talk to you about that at a time when we can sit and talk more at length, and I'll let Zeb get back to the program. But I'm in agreement. We need to really significantly get that population down to where they're not affecting our wildlife.
All right. Now, there was another section, and I've got about 7 minutes left here, Fred. There was another section of that editorial yesterday in the paper I want you to respond to, because it was basically antagonistic, in my opinion. I know you folks. I know what you're trying to get done. And this paragraph said, kicking the can has become the status quo in Idaho government. There are no campaigns to go home to this year. Now's the time to get something done. There was almost the inference there that, oh, you only show up and do something for a campaign year. I took offense at that for you.
Well, and, again, that's just... The article is not really reflective, Zeb, of what's going on up here. Your representatives from Legislative District 27, I think, pretty much reflect the values, the collective values of Legislative District 27. But every legislative district send representatives to the State House, and some of them have divergent views. Mm-hmm. And that is their right. They are representing their constituents. I took offense to that particular portion of it because it makes it sound like we're up here and we're not doing anything. Well, I can tell you, Zeb, this education budget has been worked on by a lot of people starting at 6 o'clock in the morning, and they're still having meetings at 10 o'clock at night. And it might seem like we're not doing anything, but what we're doing is getting people with divergent views around the table and trying to come up with a program that everybody can sign on to and takes into account everybody's concerns. And, if you don't do that, then you don't wind up with a very good product. And we've been working hard, and I still think, I was talking to Scott and Moyle this morning, we could still easily be out of here on the 27th, and the intent is to leave on the 27th with a fully funded education program. The career ladder is intact. The money is there for it, and a transportation program where we'll raise money. I wish we could raise a little more because our bridges in particular are in sore need of that. But the idea that we're not going to go home without something, I think is, well, the implication here is just wrong. That's just all there is to it.
All right, we've got a caller with a question. I'm down to about 4 minutes. Good morning, caller. Real quick. Go ahead, please.
Oh, yeah, I was wondering how he voted on House Bill number 100. He was for...
I voted against House Bill 100. That bill so constructed is unconstitutional. There's a long story to that, and by constitutional amendment was passed in 1973, I believe, that took away the legislature's authority to have anything to do with our compensation, period. Mm-hmm. Now, what I would agree with is that the intent of House Bill 100 was exactly correct. What I think we ought to do is have the Citizens Committee remove any benefits from legislative service. There should be no health care benefits, there should be no retirement benefits, and there should be no per diem benefits of any kind. Just a plain straight salary that's subject to full taxation. And in my debate on the floor, that's what I said, is we need to go to the Citizens Committee and have the Citizens Committee take away all benefits from the legislature, because the way that those are constructed at this point in time, in my opinion, is wrong. It's a special privilege for the legislature. It's a privilege that other citizens don't have. We should not have that privilege. But unfortunately, we can't do anything about it. It's the Citizens Commission by Constitution that needs to change that.
Okay, thank you, caller. I've got one.
Hey, man, hey.
Get Bill going.
All right. Thank you, caller, for your call this morning. One last topic here this morning, and about 3 minutes left, Fred. The latter paragraph in the story that was on the op-ed said it's time for a truce between Republicans and minority Democrats. It's time to muscle real solutions past the GOP right flank. What isn't being done? What isn't being coordinated? Let's use the transportation issue for one. What needs to have a truce between the two parties? Explain that.
Well, it's not, I don't think it's a truce between the two parties at all. I think what it is there's a basic philosophy. About half of the Republicans feel that transportation should be funded strictly from fees associated with people who use the transportation industry. Mm-hmm. Now, whether or not that's gas tax, whether that's registration fees, whether that's a ton-mile tax, whether that's whatever. There's about half of the Republican caucus that believes that we ought to do away with all of that type of funding and switch over to a complete sales tax funding. And as a matter of fact, there were a couple of bills up here that are still floating around that adds a penny to the sales tax, which raises about $250 million, and let that be start being education funding. I mean, not education funding, but transportation funding.
Right.
And so the big issue is the big division is between the two factions of Republicans, not the Democrats, the two factions of Republicans as to how transportation should be funded in the future. Mm-hmm. And that's what that's about. They got this dead wrong again. The Democrats aren't much players here. It's the division between the Republicans.
You know, Fred,
it's not a bad division. It's just a matter of philosophy, and it's not portrayed like this paper portrays it at all.
Absolutely. That's why I wanted you to come on the program this morning, and I certainly do appreciate your answering a lot of the questions about that op-ed piece. Representative Fred Wood, always a straight shooter, up at the Idaho Legislative Session for 2015. Fred, I got to run, but please know I appreciate your time and effort this morning. Thank you so much.
We'll see you next week, Zeb. Thank you.
All right, sir. Thank you very much. Representative Fred Wood, and I don't think there's anybody in politics that's a straighter shooter than he is, and I appreciate it. Holy smokes, we got to get the weather in there. Damon's got his finger on the button ready to go. Don't forget that the weather this hour is brought to you by Scarro's Meats, and they've got a tax return meat package for $300, and you say, what do we get for $300? Listen to this. You get beef, you get ground beef, you get rump roast, you get New York steaks, you get pork, you get pork chops and brats and bacon, and you get chicken and you get cheese. Oh my goodness, you better check it out today. Call them at 324-7657. 324-7657. 331 North Road in Jerome. They sell taste one bite at a time, Scarro's Meats. And now here is Michael Rogers' weather.
Hello, everyone. Michael Rogers for Zeb of the Ranch Starter with brand spanking new week of you, me, weather. Kind of boring, but it's like you're going to get to that point. I'm telling you now. You're going to string these days, typical Magic Valley weather. You start stringing sunny days, dry thunderstorms, warm temperatures. We're not at the warm temperatures yet. You're going to see highs in the 60s all week long for the overnight low. Got some clouds today. Slight chance of rain tomorrow, and then you'll come out of it day after tomorrow with mostly sunny conditions. Enjoy the weather. It is the only weather you've got.
All right. Thank you very much, Michael. Brought to you by our friends at Scarro's Meats. 331 North Road, Jerome. Don Scarrow and the rest of the crew. And the number to call, 324-7657. Yep, they are selling taste. One bite at a time. Really good folks at Scarro's Meats. Oh my, let's take a quick look at what we've got on the program for tomorrow, and tomorrow is going to be a busy, busy day. We're going to have Brian McFarland on regarding the job fair and all the different diversified jobs that are available at Dot Foods. We're going to have Bert Stevenson come on the program, and he's going to talk about water issues. It is so dry out there. Then we're going to have Dr. History right here in the studio, and then we're expecting a gentleman from Washington, D.C., coming on the program talking about all the lost emails from Hillary Clinton, so don't miss that. Hey, by the way, too, I want to remind you a big spring tire sale is going on at your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers, all 7 locations serving you. Yep, the big spring tire sale with the Open Country AT2 on sale. Outstanding traction, long-lasting tread for your pickups and SUVs on sale. How about this? The passenger car tire, the Eclipse, all-season traction, advanced tread design on sale. You better stop in and check it out. Convenient credit for tires and services, and also the best tire value promise in the industry. So you stop into any one of the 7 locations for the best of shocks and struts and front-end alignments and batteries, and the very best in brake service, too. Stop in and see Lane and Rupert, Dave on Blue Lakes and Twin, Mike and Buell, Mike and Jerome, the Twist family in Paul, John on Poline in Twin Falls, and Randy on Overland in Burley. Big spring tire sale at your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. Woo, busy day. And let's just get this young man on the phone for just a second, on the microphone. And Damon, turn your mic on. Are you kind of glad the first day is all over? He's gone.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you now. Turn your mic up and speak right into it. Get real close to it. Are you there?
Yeah, I got it about -5 or 0, so hopefully you can hear me pretty well.
I can hear you now. I just asked you a question. Are you glad that the first day is all over and you can sit back and wipe the sweat from your brow?
Yeah, I can tell you it was, it's been some work today and everything, but I think I'll get through the motion, everything, as the week goes on, so.
I do too. You're a good young man. Thank you very much for everything you're doing over there. Tomorrow's a new day and everything will run perfect, and I thought you did a great job. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you. You have a good show and everything, and, you keep everything interesting, so that's always good.
All right.
I'm glad I get to listen to it.
All right. God bless you, man. Thanks. Don't forget to tune in tomorrow at 8:06. We'll saddle the horse and ride for 3 hours right here on Zeb at the Ranch on KBAR 1230 AM, and then streaming live also on the internet all over the universe, ZebBell.com. The way things were are the way things ought to be. You and your family have a great day. Tune us in tomorrow morning, Zeb at the Ranch. God bless. See you then.